Please don't knock those together. No.
Oh, holy shit!
Jesus.
Oh,
Bobby, stop! Bobby, stop! What's wrong with you?
Woo!
Do not move! Do not move!
This is like so many things. I am the most publicly supportive CEO of Israel, and that's true. I think Israel is on the side of good. Now, in private, because I'm known there to be fair, I'm probably also the most effective critic of like, hey, I didn't agree with this, without going it, and I.
You think you're some kind of a fucking triathlon beast just because you bought a 10 grand bike? Bullshit. You won't destroy the field until you put this on your head. Introducing Shurek. 20 years of Polish engineering created this massive profile that shamelessly penetrates the air in front of you. Put it on, dominate, and show them who the real alpha is. Shurek. It's fucking awesome.
How much would somebody have to legally pay you to change your name back to Jeffrey Epstein?
I would never change my name back.
Can I call you Jeff?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not him. Call me Peter, please. Thank you. I prefer Peter. That's my given name. By the way, where'd you get this suit? It's really smashing. Where'd you get that suit? Seriously. You're not gonna tell me? Okay.
And so, you're not Epstein?
Nah, I'm not Epstein. Palm Beach Pete. I had my own life, and we made Palm Beach Pete an outgoing, fun guy.
And did you ever meet him? It's like, I'm looking at him in the eyes.
You are. You are. I actually have a twin.
You do?
I do. I have a twin brother.
Epstein?
Gary.
Gary?
Yeah.
You should have done a better job covering this all up.
Yeah, I should have. People thinking I'm Epstein, and I'm not, so I give it to a
But you are.
Okay.
Israeli companies invest more in the Netherlands than in any other country in the world. Even Israel's biggest arms companies use the Netherlands as a hub, as a gateway for their investments in Europe. This is all revealed in an investigation that we're publishing today. So why do these companies use the Netherlands? How is it possible that the Netherlands, such a tiny country, attracts so many billions of euros in investment from Israel? Well, the Netherlands is a tax haven. So a lot of this investment is not staying in the Netherlands, but these are from companies that are using the Netherlands to using the Dutch tax and legal system to structure their investments in Europe and the rest of the world. So let's look at one example, Rafael Advanced Defense Systems. This is a state-owned company and one of the biggest and most important suppliers of weapons to the Israeli military. Weapons that are used and contribute to apartheid, to genocide and to occupation against Palestinians. Now, this company uses a Dutch letterbox company, a company with no employees in the Netherlands, but with millions and millions in assets, to hold all of its subsidiaries in Europe, in the UK, Germany and Spain. All of Raphael's companies in these countries are owned by this Dutch letterbox company, which provide all kind of benefits to these companies when they're investing in other countries. So we're calling on the Dutch government to stop facilitating investment that is bankrolling genocide, that is bankrolling occupation, and that is bankrolling apartheid. Instead of facilitating this kind of investment, the Netherlands should be restricting the flow of capital to and from Israel. You can read the full story on our website, and please follow for more on this.
Over and over, we see the same story play out. The crowd begins to lose interest in the political stage play. They begin to suspect that it's fake, that reality is taking place somewhere offstage and out of sight. They begin to realize that they are not spectators at all, but active participants with the ability to shape the world around them. And then along comes a god from a machine peddling hopium, and the audience goes back to enjoying the show. None of this is to denigrate the religious instinct that compels humans to look for a savior from the heavens. On the contrary, those with religious faith should be the most offended by this God from the machine script that sees their most cherished divine beliefs cynically played on by would-be political rulers masquerading as gods. Of course the hopium peddled by these fake gods is enticing. It's designed to be. It plays on one of our greatest capacities as human beings. Our capacity for hope. Our belief that we can make the world a better place, and that we are not condemned to forever wait for the god from the machine to deliver us from our problems. But hopium is not hope. Like opium, which binds to opioid receptors in the brain to provide temporary pain relief, hopium is a synthetic, man-made construct which provides us with the simulacrum of hope.
Holy Holy shit! Watch out! Woo!
This was valid in 2001 and it's valid now. If you see an interview and it's pushing propaganda, the interviewee is likely not a random person.
Well, big catastrophe, and I'm Israeli, and I hope that now people understand what we have to deal with, the kind of people that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
The smiling Israeli woman 9/11 interview, you can find it if you look it up on Google. It's been viral for years because everyone's been wondering, why is she smiling? The difference between now and 2001 is that we have AI facial analysis, so we can figure out who she is. Maybe that will lead us to why she's smiling. I took a screenshot of that video, plugged her face into my facial analysis AI, immediately found out who she was. It was not hard. Her name is Tazammer at first. Anyway, she is connected to Bill Gates. He did fund her temporary circumcision product that she made tens of millions off of. This woman speaks at APAC. She is very prominent Israeli, very powerful. But we need to remember that we can still use these tools to go back into the past, go find out who other people were, what are they doing now, what are they involved in now.
Figure it out. That's the best.
Hello everyone, my name is Noel Pichardo. I'm a ex-cop here in the state of Rhode Island. While I'm regrettably an ex-police officer, is part of the reason why I'm doing one of the strangest things I've ever done, which is talking in front of a camera, in order to inform you all about a concerning trend that's been steadily rising in my state and other states across the country. So in 2021, 2022, my city, the city of Pawtucket, the police department I was a part of, along with other departments in my state, started quietly signing contracts with this new technology called flock camera. It's a surveillance system company run by a man named Garrett Langley. He's the CEO and founder of that company. Basically, it's a very sophisticated AI software that uses a camera system to track and monitor every vehicle that goes by the camera lens. You know, it doesn't require a violation. It doesn't require any infraction. It only requires movement. That's it. And it records the make, the model, color, bumper stickers, you name it, of the vehicle that goes by every single one of these camera lenses. They're quite discreet. If you don't know what they are, you won't be able to spot them out. They're basically put on utility poles at the main intersections in your city if you have them. So to put it bluntly, you know, if you own a car, you're now being tracked. If I could put it plainly, for committing the sin of going to work. This information is shared city to city and even state to state without a warrant. There's no legislation governing this technology. Well, specifically referring to my state, which doesn't have any legislation governing this technology, even though it's been in use for about 4 years now. And if you're still watching this video, I'm assuming your temper is starting to flare up because it's probably the first time you're hearing about this, which I think is the worst thing about this, in my opinion, is that you, the American citizen, was never notified about this innovation, nor its implementation. Your consent was never required, nor even asked for, or even thought about when your city government was putting up this new technology. For example, the chief of the Pawtucket Police Department, she was confronted by a local reporter on this very question of what gave them the right to put up these cameras without consulting the public. Her response was, so the criminals wouldn't know about it and avoid its detection. So there you go. That's their best argument about why they felt you, the public, had no right to know about this new innovation being put up in your city. So why am I in the situation that I'm in right now? Why am I talking to you? So when this innovation was first introduced in my city and many other cities in the state, I brought up a lot of the reasonable objections I'm sure a lot of you who already came up with within the first few seconds of this video, which is concerns about privacy, concerns about abuse, and concerns about transparency. Because I brought up all these concerns to that same local reporter that interviewed the chief of the Pawtucket Police Department, and because I brought these concerns to the Government Oversight Committee at my state house, what I got for that was suspensions without pay. I lost my promotion to detectives. I had my character sullied, and all that eventually led to my resignation, which was forced on me. It wasn't my choice, but I had no choice at this point. After I resigned, I was asked to sign an NDA by my department, which I didn't even know was allowed in my profession, but maybe that's just a sign of my ignorance. But I refused to sign that NDA, and as a result, I've become unhireable in my profession. I can no longer be a police officer in my state because, you know, I guess you could say plainly, I'm a bit of a rat, if you want to put it that way. But I made peace with that. You know, I made peace with that. I can't do this anymore. I'm not naive. I know how the world works. I know that when you talk about issues that want to still be kept hidden, that the price you will pay for that is you lose your job. It is what it is. Other things have happened, but I promised I wasn't going to use this as an opportunity to rant, and so I'm not going to do that. And I don't share this to do the whole woe is me bit. I simply share it to prove that some nobody patrolman from Rhode Island had his livelihood taken away from him for simply saying, hold on a second, for a technology that we apparently have nothing to worry about. And if you are worrying about it, it's because you have something to hide. The philosophy that this innovation is already grounded on is already proven to be rotten. It's grounded on this idea that you, the citizen, are first and foremost a potential suspect or potential defendant that needs to be tracked and monitored for your safety and for the safety of others. It's the same philosophy that the Soviets and many authoritarian states during the 20th century adopted, and we all know how that worked out for them. It's the same philosophy that the Chinese are currently adopting right now, and they have a similar surveillance system that they're using on their own citizens right now, which is even more egregious. And look, I get it. I want to use the tools that we have in order to capture the guy who steals your mother's car, the guy who's stalking your neighbor's daughter, or one of the guys that shoots and kills one of our young men in our city. I get it. But this isn't the answer. This technology is new, but the philosophy that it's grounded on is nothing new. It's actually quite old. And we've seen it echoed in the worst way throughout the 20th century in Europe, and I don't want it to repeat those same mistakes in our own country.
Grab his dick and twist it!
Oh my god, dude, this is an MMA fight, dude.
You twist that dick!
Twist his dick!
Twist is dead!
Oh my god, man. Oh my god.
Oh, dick twist!
I wish I could just do a story about how FIFA is rigged, about VAR, about offsides, all the other nonsense that's been going on, but I can't. Why? Because minutes before the Egypt-Argentina match yesterday, Israel murdered an Egyptian aid worker who was organizing World Cup screenings in Gaza. The Egyptian Relief Committee in Gaza had been organizing public screenings of World Cup matches for displaced families across the Strip. About an hour before the Egypt-Argentina match, Israel killed the committee's public relations director in a strike on his vehicle. 2 others, including a child, were also killed. This man right here, Mohammed Fawaz al-Wahidi, may he rest in peace. I mean, all he was doing was trying to help people watch football, find a little joy in all of the darkness that's going on, and now he's dead. Israel said that they were targeting a quote-unquote Hamas militant and are now aware that civilians have been killed, so the incident is quote-unquote under review, aka nothing is gonna happen, no repercussions, no justice, nothing. This is an evil country that does whatever they want to do. They kill just because they can, and if anyone dare criticize them, then it's an automatic Holocaust against the Jews.
Given the green light to bomb the U.S. Now we just have to decide where to drop it. Any ideas?
How about Los Angeles?
Come on, solve their homeless problem? No, not L.A.
We could hit Chicago.
Cut their murder rate in half? No.
Miami?
No, if I wanted to bomb Cuba, I would.
Let's get Wall Street.
What, and give the American people a fair chance in the financial system? Absolutely freaking not. Come on, there's got to be somewhere we can hit that doesn't make them stronger.
We can poison the air they breathe.
Or sabotage their healthcare. They're doing both of those things to themselves already.
We could make them infertile.
Oh, those kids aren't having sex anyway.
We could bomb Detroit?
Are you joking?
No.
Detroit. We're going to bomb Detroit. They wouldn't even be able to tell it was bombed. God, America's genius. Ruin their own country just enough to where attacking it doesn't make sense.
We could bomb D.C.
Whose team are you even on?
Your team?
There would be parades in every city if we bombed D.C. Guys, come on, without politicians and government, America would be unstoppable.
I don't even want to think about it.
We spent years on this bomb, and we can't even use it.
If it's just going to be collecting dust, could we maybe bomb my ex's house?
I think my ex lives here.
Oh, where do your exes live?
Florida.
I don't hate it.
I think I'm a rapper too.
In Florida too. Yeah.
Guys. We're fucking bombing Florida, baby.
Oh!
Dang, bitch.
See you, Molly.
I'm fucking jacked up on 10,000 milligrams of caffeine, Mean Gene. I can see sounds. I can see everything.
Welcome to the Independent Review, a weekly podcast where we bring you the latest from the world of independent journalism.
It's still real to me, damn it!
And here he comes.
The following contest is a tag team match set for one and is for the World Tag Team Championship. Introducing first, from Las Vegas, Nevada, weighing in at 600 pounds, the Assassin, Eric Kirk.
Here we go, gentlemen. Huge title match coming up.
Get on your feet!
WWE right now. Here we go, guys. Guys, I cannot overstate the importance of this match here tonight.
Of course not, Michael. Anytime the tag titles are on the line, the match takes on a whole new level of importance.
I also think it's worth mentioning just how self-centered he's become in recent weeks.
Yeah, and if for whatever reason you don't recognize his greatness, just ask him. I'm sure he can go on for hours about it. All right, I love this guy.
And from Hollywood, California, weighing in at 231 pounds, the Jester.
Remember, guys, the title's on the line here in this one.
And I don't remember the last time the champ was in this much jeopardy, Cole. Tonight might just be the night the title changes hands.
Say the level of pride he has in his game is truly impressive, guys.
Yeah, he's about as proud as a peacock, Michael. And you know what? He has every right to be. We are about to see something good. Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
And from Austin, Texas, weighing in at 233 pounds, the Jester.
Guys, I cannot overstate the importance of this match here tonight.
Of course not, Michael. Anytime the tag titles are on the line, the match takes on a whole new level of importance. I am the game. You don't want to play me. I am control. No way you can shake me. I am heavy debt. No way you can pay me. I am the pain, and I know you can't take me. Look over your shoulder, ready to run like a Cleveland bench from a smoking gun. I am the game, and I make the rules. So move on out here and die like a fool. Trying to figure out what my move's gonna be. Come on over, sucker, why don't you ask me? Don't you forget there's a price you can pay. 'Cause I am the game and I want to play.
Let's rewind back really quickly to his last match and just how dominant he appeared to be.
You're easily impressed, aren't you, Cole? I expect that out of Saxton, but I'll start paying attention when he strings together more than just a handful of W's.
It's all about the game, and how you play it. It's all about control, and if you can take it, it's all about your debt. And if you can pay it, it's all about the pain. Who's gonna make it? I am the game. You don't wanna play me. I am the control. There's no way you can shake me. I am
The goal is obtaining those tag team championships. Being on the same page will be vital in this one.
Tag team action underway. Truly one of the hallmarks of sports entertainment.
Hey, Cole, as a former tag team champion myself, I have to say these matches hold a special place in my heart.
Oh, and a stomp right to the back. Oh, direct impact to the chest.
Ruthless striking.
And any one of those shots could take you out for good.
And he gets directed into the corner.
Big double axe handle.
Talk about being on the same page. They were on the same sentence with that fine piece of work.
Got them off their feet here. Gets slapped down.
Tag made.
Carried in a jeopardizing position here.
Boom. And stays one step ahead.
Into a neck breaker.
Oh, he got him. Is he going to lock this in?
The more he fights, the more pain he's in.
But he can't stop battling. He has to get out of this in a hurry.
He lets go of the hold, but I don't see any reason for it.
No telling what's going on in his mind right now, Michael.
Oh, to the arm. Terrible. From the middle rope. Oh, a splash.
Oh, for the title. Got it. And the tag titles change hands here tonight.
We just got tired of doing what you told us to do. That's a brace, boy. That's a brace, little man.
And teamwork makes the dream work in this tag team victory.
Tag team excellence in its purest form. You simply love to see it. And I hope we see these guys tagging in real soon.
You think you can tell me what to do? You know who you're talking to? Well, you better get used to the way the ball bounces. I see what you got. It measures in ounces.
Welcome to the Independent Review, live on AM Wake Up on Odyssey, Rumble, Substack, and the Indie News Network on Twitter. Let's jump right into this first clip from Dave DeCamp of antiwarnews.com.
Hey, this is Dave DeCamp from antiwar.com, and welcome to Anti-War News. This episode is sponsored by Expat Money, and as we're starting tonight, it's about 9:30 on Wednesday night here on the East Coast of the U.S., and the U.S. is bombing Iran again, and it looks like Iran has started to strike back according to the latest reports, but the whole thing's a mess, and I'm going to start a little out of order here because I want to cover what President Trump said earlier in the day. So Trump says that the U.S.-Iran MOU is over. So this was at the NATO summit in Turkey on Wednesday. President Trump said that the ceasefire and the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding are over, and he called Iranian leadership scum after the U.S. bombed Iran again, and the Iranian military hit back at U.S. bases in the region. President Trump, he said this alongside NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, quote, "To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. I think they're scum." You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over, end quote. And he said all sorts of other similar things, throughout the day at the NATO summit as he was meeting with other people and speaking to reporters. He did suggest that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner could continue negotiations, but he also said, as far as I'm concerned, it's a waste of time and they would have to come back to me. And also he threatened that he's going to bomb Iran. He said he's going to hit him again tonight. And then we see the U.S. start bombing Iran again. And he also made threats about destroying the country's bridges, energy infrastructure, and desalination plants, the water drinking supplies. This is what he said. He said that they haven't started the highest level. He said, quote, "The highest level is the bridges, which we can knock down. I would say in one day we can knock down every single bridge in Iran. There's not a thing they can do about it. There are electric manufacturing facilities. They have desalination plants. We'll take them out if we have to. I'd hate to do that. That'd probably be the one I'd like to do least," end quote. So saying he doesn't want to do it, but he is nonetheless threatening to do it, which is a clear war crime targeting water supplies, especially drinking water supplies. And so he also suggested that the U.S. could take Karg Island, and saying that Iran wouldn't be able to do anything about it, which is just absurd. Of course, if the U.S. sends ground troops to take Karg Island, there's going to be some serious U.S. casualties because they're going to face lots of drone and missile attacks. But, with Trump with Trump, you don't know if this means anything. I mean, to me, it seems like the MOU is dead. It's clearly dead. But with Trump, you can't, his words don't really mean much anymore. And this kind of just seems like desperation. All this stuff that he's saying about the Iranian leadership, going after them now, and then, threatening, saying, they wouldn't be able to do anything about us taking Karg Island. And that's not the case. Trump himself admitted just a couple weeks ago that he couldn't bomb the Strait of Hormuz open. When they were trying to sell the MOU, that's what he said. And now he's saying, we could do whatever we want to Iran. Well, he knows that's not true. The only thing that the U.S. could do is kill more people and destroy more of Iran. But there's no path to any kind of victory yet. Unfortunately, this is the direction he seems to be going. And so let's get to the strikes now. So the U.S. begins bombing Iran for the second night. So this was on Wednesday night, early morning, I believe around maybe just after midnight Iran time when the U.S. started bombing them again. And U.S. Central Command announced it. And Iranian media reported explosions near several Iranian cities along the coast, including Bandar Abbas, Sirik, Kunarik, and Shabahar, and said that Iranian air defenses were confronting hostile targets. Iran's IRNA news agency reported that a firefighter was killed by U.S. strikes that hit facilities at the Iran Shar airport in southeastern Iran, so at least one person killed in this round. And a U.S. official told Reuters that the strikes would be heavier than the night before. And after they started, President Trump, he went on Truth Social, and he started posting all these pictures from social media purporting to show, the aftermath or the bombings in Iran, smoke rising and things like that. Like, there's like 10 posts or something. It's like what someone you'd see sharing on X. And this is what he said in one of the posts, quote, "This is in retribution for yesterday's bombing of ships by Iran. If it happens again, it will get much worse," end quote. So earlier in the day, before the U.S. started bombing them again, the message from Iran was, if you bomb us again, we're going to hit you back even harder. And we're ready to go. And also, an Iranian official told the Press TV that they would completely close the Strait of Hormuz. So, that's a potential consequence here of these latest U.S. strikes. Oil prices are shooting back up. We're going to be feeling it again, with the gas, which did start to come down a bit, but I expect it to start rising again with everything that's happening. And especially if Iran totally shuts the strait, it's just such a mess. And so this is, and I think I mentioned, we have the Al Jazeera Live updates posted, so I will check that. But I just saw that in Bahrain and Kuwait, there's, air raid sirens, air defense is activated. So Iran is already hitting back from the latest U.S. strikes. But the next one here, the U.S. strikes that started on Tuesday night killed 8 Iranian soldiers. And this is according to a statement released by the Iranian military on Wednesday. And these were, again, the attacks that started Tuesday night. And they did seem to be bigger than the other recent U.S. strikes on Iran since the MOU was signed. And these are the first, significant casualties that I have seen in, recent months since the April ceasefire in the U.S. airstrikes in Iran. So again, a total of 8 soldiers killed. Iranian media reported that the strikes hit military bases and also non-military targets. And the IRGC said that it hit 85 U.S. targets in Bahrain and Kuwait in response. Again, this is after the initial round of U.S. strikes. Iran hit back, and then there was kind of a lull. Trump made all these threats, and then the U.S. started bombing them again. So, I mean, my opinion is that this is, if we're not there yet, we're very close to the point of no return, to the point of just devolving into full-scale war again. I think the number one sign that it has reached that point is if Israel gets in on the strikes, or if Iran, there's also a chance that Iran just starts bombing Israel, because they if they see that as an inevitable eventuality, they're going to try to get the upper hand and just start bombing Israel. And then the other big escalation is potentially in Yemen. Not only the closing of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, but also Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, opening up a front with Saudi Arabia. I think that's certainly possible. That we could see that happen if this really escalates. And that would mean the resumption of a horrific war, where there's been a state of ceasefire since 2022 that has held relatively well. And that would be a real tragedy if that starts up again. So, but I think that's a very real possibility. And I think we could really see the oil infrastructure get lit up in Saudi Arabia if that happens. So we'll see. It's all, as I keep saying, it's just a total mess. And so next one here, let's just check out the live updates from Al Jazeera to see what's happening. So Gulf braces for Iranian attacks. A U.S. senator says that Congress should not allow Trump to continue the war on Iran. That's Liz Warren. And, they do have that War Powers Resolution that was passed, that under the War Powers Act of 1973, Trump is obligated to end this war, and he clearly hasn't done that. So hopefully some members of Congress take some action there based on that War Powers Resolution that was passed. Qatar is issuing alert over security threats, so potentially attacks on bases in Qatar. Kuwaiti air defenses are intercepting hostile missiles. IRGC vows crushing response. Oh, so apparently a bridge was bombed in Iran. So at least one bridge has been targeted. Trump threatens to hit Iran 20 times harder for each attack. Air raids in Bahrain. I mean, I just don't see how this isn't just totally back on. But again, I've thought that before, and then they did stop and enter some kind of talks. But at this point, I mean, I don't know. All right, so the next one here, Trump supports long-range attacks in Russia. So President Trump heaped praise on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the NATO summit in Ankara on Wednesday, expressing support for Ukraine's long-range attacks inside Russia, and said he would allow Ukraine to produce Patriot missile interceptors. So when asked about Ukraine's strikes on Russian oil refineries, the president said, quote, "It's an escalation, but it's also an escalation that could help lead to an end," end quote. Ukraine's long-range drone attacks rely on intelligence provided by the U.S., and I missed this. This is a few days ago. The Financial Times reported, citing Ukrainian officials, that Ukraine has been able to strike all these oil refineries recently thanks to intelligence provided by the U.S. that's helping them get through Russian air defenses. So the U.S. is directly supporting these attacks across Russia. And of course, as we've been covering, it's not just oil refineries that are getting hit. A lot more civilians are getting killed inside Russia. And when you see the Russian Defense Ministry announce these major strikes on Ukraine, that's what they're citing is the civilian casualties. And in turn, we've seen more civilian casualties in Ukraine as Russia has ramped up its bombardment there. And Trump is saying he supports this, that this, escalation is good. Basically buying the NATO line, this will help end the war. All of these huge escalations. And he also told Zelensky that he's going to give them a license to make Patriot missiles. This is what he said exactly, quote, and he's speaking to Zelensky here. "We're going to give you a license to make Patriot missiles. That's pretty cool. This way you can't complain that we're not giving them enough. I said, make them yourself. We haven't informed the company of that yet, but that'll work out all right," end quote. And so this is, of course, another escalation of U.S. support for Ukraine. And Russia's probably going to, respond in some way. And if they do try to set up Patriot missile factories in Ukraine, I would expect Russia to bomb them, or at least try to bomb them. And Trump spoke very highly of Zelensky. He said that they've developed a good relationship, that he's doing an amazing job, that he's been very effective in the war, just praising him and praising these huge escalations that we've seen in this proxy war. And, I said something about this on X. I thought Trump's campaign, I was very skeptical. I think it was obvious enough that he could end up in a war with Iran, because while he was, a lot of rhetorically at rallies and stuff saying that he didn't want to start wars and he wanted to end wars, he was also doing like these other events with his donors, talking about how, how he's the number one supporter of Israel. He's been the best president that Israel ever had. And, there was some hawkish things he said about Iran. He was asked about Biden apparently at some point asked Israel not to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities. And Trump said, you got to let them bomb the nuclear facilities. What's the point if you don't? And then Vance, I believe it was right after they won, he did an interview. Was it right after they won, or was it at the RNC? I forget. But anyway, Vance did an interview and he said, when it comes to Iran, you got to hit them hard. You can't do these little bombing runs like Biden. So there were signs. When it comes to the war in Ukraine, now, I was still skeptical, because the thing about Trump is we had this whole first administration where he would say one thing and do another. But he did really make a point to say he was going to end the war. And Vance, that was kind of his thing when he was in the Senate. He was a skeptic and opponent of this war. So when you talk about kind of a betrayal of what he campaigned on, this is a huge betrayal, escalating this war to this point where the U.S. is supporting drone attacks on Moscow, on oil refineries like thousands of miles inside Russia. But anyway, you don't really hear much about it. All the kind of Republicans, there was kind of a small but loud faction of Republicans who were very against the proxy war under the Biden administration. Don't hear anything from them anymore. This just goes on. And because Trump's not spending as much on sending military aid, but that it's not as noticed by people anymore, even though the war is raging as big as ever.
Next, we have this clip from James Corbett of the Corbett Report on glyphosate.
Back, friends. Welcome back. This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com here in July of 2026. And if you are watching this podcast in July of 2026, and if you have been following the news recently, you will notice glyphosate is back in the news. Specifically, you'll have noticed the story that came out recently regarding the seemingly never-ending legal saga around Monsanto/Bayer's Roundup weed killer and the lawsuits that are ongoing about the cancers that have been caused by that agent. And you will have noticed some of the recent developments in that story. For example, you'll know last December that the Trump administration actually filed a brief with the Supreme Court in support of Monsanto/Bayer, trying to shield them from such lawsuits. And you will also know that earlier this month, late last month, the U.S. Supreme Court has indeed barred states from protecting consumers if federal agencies won't. And there are some legal nuance with regards to what this is about, etc. But the long story short is that the many people who have been in the process of suing Monsanto and their parent company Bayer over this Roundup weed killer cancer story their cases are in legal jeopardy. But it's not just in the U.S. where this is something that's in the news right now. For example, in Europe, you might have heard of the Food and Feed Safety Simplification Omnibus. And if you haven't, of course, I'll throw in the link to that in the show notes for today's conversation. I will also direct you to a gmwatch.org article about families suffering from pesticide exposure demand better health protection, not deregulation, talking about some of the bad things that are in this food safety simplification omnibus. But you do not want to hear me expounding on these subjects. You would like to hear someone who really knows what they are talking about at the base scientific level as well as at the regulatory level. So today we're going to be talking to Dr. Michael Antoniou, who is a professor emeritus in molecular genetics at King's College London, and is an expert in these issues. He has written studies on mammalian toxicity of herbicides used in intensive GM crop farming. He has written about comparative toxigenomics of glyphosate and Roundup herbicides by mammalian stem cell-based genotoxicity assays and molecular profiling in Sprague-Dawley rats, and other such very fascinating studies. I will, of course, link up his About page at King's College London. But let's bring him on the program. Dr. Michael Antoniou, thank you very much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to join you today, James, to discuss what is a very, very important subject.
It is a very important subject. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people may vaguely know about this subject, but they don't know about it in great depth. So let's start today. Let's just get people on board with some basic facts about what we're talking about. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you came to study this subject, and then we're going to get into what glyphosate is and why people should be concerned about it.
Yes, so as you introduced me, at the moment I have Professor Emeritus status in molecular genetics and toxicology with King's College London. And I'm emeritus because as of October last year, I retired. So I don't have an active research group anymore, but remain intimately connected with academia, including on glyphosate toxicology issues. But prior to that, in the last 13 or so years of my active time at King's College London, I introduced or developed a toxicology program, molecular cellular toxicology program with a focus on pesticides and with a special interest in glyphosate-based herbicides. So my group, I feel proud to say, became a world leader in glyphosate herbicide toxicology, and the work in my group identified novel mechanisms by which glyphosate herbicides can bring about toxicity. So that generally is my background. So as to what is glyphosate, glyphosate was actually created. It's not a naturally occurring molecule. It was invented back in the 1950s by a German chemist. And it's a derivative of an amino acid that I'm sure all listeners will have heard of called glycine. So that's why its chemical name is called N-phosphonomethylglycine, glyphosate for short. And for many years, it remained really just a curiosity and didn't have much use, except it was discovered early on that it was a very potent binder or chelator, as we call it technically, of metals, including nutrient metals, by the way, such as magnesium, manganese, calcium, and so forth. And that, our conversation, we may want to return to this as part of our conversation going forward, because it's an often forgotten aspect by which glyphosate can bring about toxic effects. Because if glyphosate in the soil or in the plant that it's been sprayed with binds these nutrient metals. Not only does it prevent them to be utilized by the plant, but also by you and I, when we ingest them. But that is a bit of a side issue. The key thing about in the history of glyphosate is that in the early 70s, Monsanto Company in the United States discovered that it had very potent weed-killing herbicide properties. And in 1973 or 74, it launched a product called Roundup, which is based on glyphosate as the weed-killing agent. And the thing about glyphosate is that it kills all plants. So, and the way it does that is it inhibits a biochemical pathway in plants. It's known as the shikimate pathway for aficionados listening in. But this biochemical pathway, the shikimate pathway, is responsible, among other things, for manufacturing, synthesizing certain crucial amino acids, aromatic amino acids, that the plant needs to build its proteins. So when glyphosate comes in and inhibits this biochemical pathway, these essential amino acids are not manufactured and the plant dies because it can't make its proteins, it can't grow. But this biochemical pathway, the shikimate pathway, is present in all plants. So glyphosate is what's known as a broad spectrum herbicide. It kills everything. And so therefore, you couldn't spray your crop to kill weeds and keep your crop alive because it would kill your crop as well. So for many years, glyphosate was used for weed clearance before you planted your crop and those kinds of measures. So its use didn't really expand very much because of its broad spectrum nature. But in 1976 is a very crucial year in the history of this substance. In 1976, Monsanto Company launched its first genetically modified crops engineered to be tolerant to glyphosate. So now the farmer could grow his or her soybeans or corn, maize, spray the crop would survive, but the weeds will die. And that, since the mid-90s, since 1996, with the rapid adoption of these genetically modified crops, there are now many crops that have been launched that are tolerant to glyphosate, not only corn, maize, soy, but also sugar beet, alfalfa, to name a few more. And what we saw then was an absolutely massive escalation in the use of glyphosate herbicides. Admittedly, the cultivation of these glyphosate-tolerant crops has remained concentrated in relatively few countries, in North America and South America, and one or two other places as well. But this resulted, of course, was that with a massive increase in glyphosate herbicide use with these crops, we have the environmental impact escalated enormously because it would kill weeds. What are weeds to the farmer, but what are natural habitats for other wildlife. But also, of course, the residues of glyphosate herbicides in foodstuffs and exposure to occupational exposure, the workers on the farms, as well as those in urban areas, say groundsmen at schools or playgrounds and golf courses and places like this, also massively increased too. So we've had this massive increase in glyphosate herbicide exposure since the mid-1990s, and it's now, at the moment, it's estimated that something in excess of 700,000 kilograms of glyphosate herbicides are sprayed annually around the world as we speak, because it has become the most massively used herbicide in history, but actually the most massively used pesticide of any sort in history to this day.
And that is just in a few decades of use. It's quite startling to think about.
It is.
And so obviously, yes, obviously it has been formulated specifically for its ability to act as a broad general purpose herbicide that will kill everything except what has been genetically modified to withstand it at least in terms of crops and weeds and plants. But I would assume that at least the story that the industry would use is that there is no documented ill health effects on mammals from these residues. I would assume that your research proves otherwise, but enlighten us on that fact.
Yes, indeed. Going back to the mechanism of action of glyphosate herbicides, the inhibition of the shikimate pathway, one of the arguments of industry, especially Monsanto company, was that, well, the shikimate pathway isn't present in animals and humans. Therefore, it can't harm us as a result. And so they always argue that it was just totally safe. Now, there are many flaws in this argument, which I'll just go through with you now, James. First of all, glyphosate can exert toxicity through other mechanisms other than inhibition of the shikimate pathway. It can, even since the late 1970s, it was known to cause in various studies, and the work has just become absolutely solid, that glyphosate causes oxidative stress. I will elaborate on that shortly. But oxidative stress is not a good thing. It's a highly damaging entity in our bodies, if it exists, and can cause numerous types of damage, which could lead to serious illnesses, including cancer. So that's one, and that Monsanto clearly ignored when they made the statement. Oh, it's completely safe because the shikimate pathway is not present in us. It has ignored other mechanisms of toxicity. The other crucial point that, again, my group was the first to demonstrate definitively was that the shikimate pathway may not be present in animals and humans, but it is present in certain types of bacteria and fungi. And this includes bacteria in our gut microbiome. Now, again, I'm sure all listeners to this podcast will know just how crucial the balanced function of our gut microbiome is for our health. I mean, again, you've only got to open the newspapers any week, and there's another story of just how important maintaining good gut microbiome function is to our health, because the bacteria and fungal population in our gut is not only there helping us to digest our food, but it produces crucial signaling molecules that feed into the body to maintain balanced immune system function, cardiovascular function, and even nervous system function, because an imbalanced gut microbiome can even lead to behavioral problems, extraordinarily enough. And as well as physical problems, not only in the gut, like inflammatory bowel disease, but problems in other organ sites, such as in the liver. It can result in inflammation in the liver and contribute to cancer formation as well. So anything that impedes the balanced functioning of the gut microbiome is not a good thing. And there's now very solid evidence from my group and elsewhere that shows that indeed glyphosate does cause gut microbiome imbalance, or dysbiosis, as we call it. And that also includes the onset or the occurrence of leaky gut. So the gut microbiome dysbiosis ultimately leads to the gut structure becoming compromised. Now, this is very important because our gut is, between the gut cells, the gut epithelial cells that line our gut, they're very tightly, rightly so, they're very tightly joined up to prevent undigested foods and toxins and other things getting into the body. But when you have compromised gut integrity, what is known as colloquially, but even medically now known as leaky gut, then you end up with partially digested food and even components of our gut bacteria entering the bloodstream. They hit different sites, especially the liver, and can cause inflammation and disease problems there as well. And my group recently has published a paper that shows that glyphosate can indeed result in leaky gut in a rat animal model system. So that's another area, again, which has been ignored by industry in its claims of glyphosate safety, and which is unfortunately being ignored by regulatory agencies. So the third and crucial thing I'd like everybody to be aware of as we go forward to discuss the glyphosate herbicide toxicity is this, and this is very, very important again. When either a farmer or someone who's going to be using glyphosate herbicides in an urban environment, doesn't matter. You, in your garden, if you buy Roundup and spray it in your garden, what you're spraying is not just a solution of glyphosate. It's not like a water solution of glyphosate. In fact, if you made a water solution of glyphosate, which is easy to do, and you spray it on your plants, nothing happens. Why is that? It's because the glyphosate can't get into the plant to exert its plant-killing properties. What the manufacturer has had to do right from the beginning, from the very first launch of Roundup herbicide in 1974, in the industry, Monsanto and other manufacturers have had to work in what are known as co-formulants or adjuvants into the mix. These adjuvants, co-formulants, perform numerous functions. But one of the crucial things they do is they not only allow the herbicide to wet the plant well, but also they basically punch holes in the plant cell walls. And as a result, the glyphosate can get in and kill the plant. Now, it turns out, and here again, we have an overwhelming body of evidence. My group has repeatedly shown that this is the case through comparative studies where we compare the toxicity of glyphosate alone compared to commercial formulations of glyphosate herbicides. Invariably, the commercial formulations are far more toxic than glyphosate alone in all of the measures. This is going back to early work of my former colleague Robin Minage when he was working with Gilles-Éric Seralini in France. He was the first to do these comparative studies and showed that some glyphosate herbicide formulations, commercial formulations, can be up to 1,000 times more toxic than glyphosate alone. And that work is more crucially, we've shown that that is indeed the case with in animal model systems, regulatory recognized laboratory animal model systems, such as the rat. And we've, in all of the tests we've done in terms of effects on the gut microbiome, liver toxicity, kidney toxicity, gut structural integrity, the formulations, commercial formulations have always been far more toxic than the glyphosate alone. Glyphosate alone is toxic as well, but there's a huge amplification of that toxicity with the coformulants. Why is this an important point? It's because basically regulators do not require long-term toxicity studies of commercial formulations when they assess the toxicity of, say, glyphosate here. They pass regulations based on tests on glyphosate alone. And that is a massive act of negligence on behalf of the regulators anywhere in the world. Because, as I say, the evidence is overwhelming that the co-formulants are highly toxic in their own right. And of course, it's the whole formulation that people are exposed to. It's not just glyphosate alone. When an applicator goes around spraying and they're breathing it, they're getting contact on their skin. It's the whole formulation. It's the whole formulation that's getting into the food that we eat. And therefore, to just pass so-called safety evaluation based on the glyphosate alone is simply not, the regulator isn't doing their job properly.
Now, let's take a look at this clip from the Indie News Network.
Everybody's talking about data centers, and a lot of people have picked up that our friend Erin Brockovich started a data center map and reporting website and organization, which is great. All right. He did write an article at the BrockovichReport.com this week with Suzanne Boothby, the PFAS pollution and the data center boom. There is a link, and that these data centers are utilizing a lot of these PFAS. These are forever chemicals, and that there is wastewater from them. All right. Yesterday, the EPA, the Department of Justice, and the West Virginia DEP announced a $450 million settlement with ChemHours for poisoning the Cape Fear, Delaware, and Ohio rivers with forever chemicals, in some cases without required permits, and in other cases in violation of those permits. Some might call this kind of settlement historic, but adjusted for inflation, that $450 million is worth less in real dollars than the $333 million that PG&E paid in 1996. You might remember that settlement was the one that was turned into a movie with her name on it, Erin Brockovich. That was 30 years ago. That was $333 million. So you think about, it should be $1 billion at 1996 dollars. If you want to get technical, the $450 million ChemHours settlement includes both the $22.5 million civil penalty and the cost of injunctive relief, which is cleanup, clean water supply, and pollution controls. That's just to fix what they did. They're only paying out $22.5 million in civil penalties. The actual cash penalty is much smaller. PG&E's $333 million was a direct settlement payout to those impacted. So they got away with it. ChemHours, by the way, generated nearly $6 billion in revenue last year. Not profit, but revenue. The penalty portion of yesterday's federal settlement, $22.5 million, is what they earn in about 36 hours. So read the rest of this Erin Brockovich article. Next, I've got one about, and she's going to link, by the way, later on, is to, they are planning to make more forever chemicals to feed the AI data center boom, which will, of course, end up in our rivers and streams and lakes at some point. So getting back again, Dave DeCamp, antiwar.com, has been relentless in reporting on the U.S. and AFRICOM's bombing of Somalia. One of few independent outlets. No mainstream outlets are touching it whatsoever. And I remember the Caitlin Johnstone article about curating your news feed a couple of weeks ago. Specifically, she mentioned Dave DeCamp, anti-war, and following the bombing of Somalia, repeated bombing. So what it says here, this is a short one. AFRICOM said the strike targeted al-Shabaab in southern Somalia. Again, this is, Al-Qaeda made up again, probably somebody that we funded and then decided to turn on. I don't know that for sure. AFRICOM said the strike was launched on June 23rd, targeting Al-Shabaab about 14 miles southeast of Afmado, a city in Somalia's southern lower Juba region. The command offered no other details about the attack, as it stopped sharing casualty estimates and assessments on potential civilian harm last year. Because why should they? Nobody's holding them to account. Nobody's forcing them to do it. And Trump is backing them not saying so. AFRICOM told Anti-War earlier this week that its forces had conducted 68 airstrikes so far this year, making the June 23rd strike at least the 69th, putting it on track to break the record for U.S. annual airstrikes in the country that the Trump admin set last year at 124. What is all this costing the United States? This is one of the reasons for this $1.5 trillion government. And how many civilians are we bombing and destroying and murdering with all of these bombs? There is a cost in lives. There's a cost in creating future potential people that might want to attack us in the future because we destroyed their village, their family, their whatever they loved. Why? You know why? It's Israel. It's always fucking Israel. On top of the war against al-Shabaab, the U.S. also has been bombing an ISIS affiliate in northeastern Somalia's Puntland region, and AFRICOM said that the last strikes launched there were conducted in early May, though there have been airstrikes reported in the region, including one that killed civilians on May 21st. The UAE is also known to launch strikes in the area, though not nearly as frequently as the U.S. Aren't those like acts of war? Aren't those like war crimes? Nobody wants to report on that. The recent U.S. airstrikes in Somalia come amid an election crisis in the country, after many clans and factions have opposed President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, the leader of the U.S.-backed federal government, remaining in office following the expiration of his term, sounds like Zelensky, which he justifies by pointing to amendments his government added to the Constitution. That crisis sparked clashes in Mogadishu and elsewhere in the country, and Somali media is reporting that the federal government may be on the brink of war with the government of Puntland, which the U.S. backs against ISIS. This is all very confusing. Bunch of different factions and sides here. The U.S. has been involved in Somalia for decades. Remember Black Hawk Down, and has been fighting al-Shabaab since the George W. Bush administration backed an Ethiopian invasion in 2006 that ousted the Islamic Courts Union, a Muslim coalition that briefly held power in Mogadishu after taking the city from CIA-backed warlords. Al-Shabaab was the radical offshoot of the Islamic Courts Union, and its first recorded attack was a suicide bombing in 2007 that targeted Ethiopian troops occupying Mogadishu. Again, once a people are occupied, resistance is justified. It wasn't until 2012 that the group pledged loyalty to Al-Qaeda. Again, U.S.-aligned Al-Qaeda that then took over Syria? The ISIS affiliate in Puntland started as an offshoot of al-Shabaab and first emerged in 2015. All of these people are hooked up with the CIA. I would bet my life on it. Okay, these are all CIA-backed people. Every one of them. Next. Ryan Knight, proud socialist, I mentioned a couple weeks ago, he came back and he's recording videos again. We talked about Prairie Land and these defendants who were prosecuted and treated as Antifa as the first prosecutions as Antifa in the country. They were indicted and now they were being sentenced, and the court threw the book at them. And you'll hear what Ryan has to say about this. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Let's hear.
So we're making this video because not enough people are talking about the Prairie Land protesters and the Trump administration's latest crackdown on dissent. So there were 9 anti-ICE protesters that were just sentenced to decades in prison in the latest crackdown on dissent in this country. In 2 federal courts, a group of protesters received unusually long sentences after the Justice Department accused them of being members of Antifa. These 9 protesters were arrested after they demonstrated outside of an ICE facility in Prairieland, Texas, and set off fireworks last year for the 4th of July to show solidarity with the detainees that were locked up inside. Now, a few of the protesters broke away from the demonstrations, and they spray painted graffiti on employees' cars. They broke a security camera, just very minor stuff. Then a police officer arrived, drew his gun on the protesters, and just one protester shot back, hitting the officer in the shoulder. The officer survived. It was a non-fatal shooting. And for this non-fatal shooting, Benjamin Song was sentenced to 100 years in prison.
100 years.
And the other protesters who didn't have guns or fire any shots were sentenced to 50 to 70 years for simply protesting outside of an ICE facility that abuses immigrants. Do you not understand how insane this is? This is an attack on the First Amendment and all of our rights to free speech and protest in this country. These were politically motivated prosecutions to crack down on dissent and free speech. The system knows it is losing control and is vulnerable, so it's trying to protect itself by making an example out of these protesters to discourage others from rising up. The empire sees what is happening in Albania, in Bolivia, and in countries all around the world where the working class is rising up and fighting back against corrupt governments that sell out the people at every turn. So I am begging people to pay attention to this case. We all need to stand in solidarity with the Prairieland protesters. They are trying to take away our fundamental right to fight back against our corrupt government, and these convictions must be appealed.
They must be overturned. They must be appealed. I don't know which judge is going to do that. Again, Ryan's tweet, we live under a fascist state where ICE agents can murder us with impunity, yet we can go to prison for 50 years for protesting. I'm going to get to the one that's the worst of all, which is the 30-year sentence. The unjust sentences of the Prairieland protesters violate the First Amendment and infringe on our rights to fight back against a tyrannical government. Now, you see Elizabeth Soto, she's the last one on the list. Her boyfriend, her husband, is Des Revo. He was transporting handwritten zines and pamphlets across town to meet them. He wasn't even there. And they included him in this indictment and have now convicted him, and he's going to prison for 30 years for driving pamphlets across town to his girlfriend. But I got more about this. Okay, Will Potter, who I don't know, but this was a good video.
Like these are how I learned to think about politics and protest. For a lot of us who grew up in punk rock especially, these were ways of finding out about social issues not talked about in schools or on the news. But to the Trump administration, these are evidence of Antifa terrorism. In Texas, a judge just sentenced Daniel Sanchez Estrada to 30 years in prison. That's longer than anyone who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. In the Prairieland case,
that was the one thing that bothered me about what he said. Forget January 6th. How about Ghislaine Maxwell? That's a longer sentence than Ghislaine fucking Maxwell, who got 20 years for trafficking children.
The government characterized homemade pamphlets like zines as insurrectionary materials and said that moving them was obstructing the prosecution of anti-ICE protesters. Zines are, of course, protected speech. And as Seth Stern of the Freedom of the Press Foundation put it, these zines are no different than the pro-revolutionary pamphlets that the authors of the First Amendment had in mind when they drafted it. But the Trump administration is chipping away at our rights in the name of fighting Antifa. In September, NSPM-7 classified anti-fascists as domestic terrorists. This 30-year sentence is clearly intended to chill free speech at a time when zines are actually making a comeback. In the age of AI slop, there's something real, made and shared by hand. That's the real target here. Not violence, but speech that dares to challenge fascism, passed hand to hand, outside the algorithm, where no billionaire-owned platform can shut it down.
You know, and that's a message that Whitney Webb and that others have been also talking about, which is hand-published material, which they can't censor, which they can't delete from the algorithm and suppress. That's published material. Again, we've seen book burning happening already in Florida heavily under the DeSantis administration. All right. This is a direct assault on free speech and on protesting the government. And this, I read a thing about according to the Declaration of Independence, we should have already started revolting and torn this whole thing up and started building a new government, because this ain't representing the people anymore. So I have one more thing to talk about, further corruption. All right. Which is David Moore, P-Politics from Sludge. Now, Sludge did a thing last week about someone having shares in a thing in SpaceX that turned out to not be true. Look, not everyone hits that out of the park every time. I'll acknowledge that. But I did want to make mention that David wrote this article, Trump's $88 billion Iran war supplemental. Yes, he's asking for another $88 billion to cover the costs that we've already incurred, okay, to cover that and make us whole going forward so that we can continue to fund this shit. All right. Of course, it would reward the contractors that are funding his July 4th bash, which are all the military contractors, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, coming from the Pentagon budget, Lockheed Martin, RTX, and other Freedom 250 sponsors stand to profit from the skyrocketing Pentagon budget and replenishing of missiles fired on Iran. Okay, so go check this one out again at readsludge.com. I am a paid monthly subscriber over at Sludge. I am a supporter of this publication. It's two guys. It's David Moore and Donald Shaw. The two guys work their asses off. They're very focused on electoralism, I get, but they're also focused on following the money and corruption. And I'm a big fan of their outlet. So support them, support independent media. That's our lightning round. We got through that pretty quick. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. You know how to do it. Cash App, $, Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, patreon.com/Indie News Network. Over at IndieNewsNow.com, that's our website where you can get 24/7 news. And then at the Substacks at INNnewsletter.com and at IndieMediaToday.com.
Now, let's take a look at this clip from TrueStream Media.
Hi everybody, I want to give you a quick update on our film, the one we were hoping to release this July 4th to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration, our country's founding. Unfortunately, we're just not going to make that date. We got really far behind, but we have been working steadily on it. We've made incredible progress, but we've also had a lot of setbacks this year. We've had a lot of sickness and medical issues that sucked away some time, and we also didn't meet the fundraising goals that we had and that we needed, so we've been kind of split. Melissa in particular has spent a lot of her time on the shorter, regular videos, and I've been trying to write and research. Most of it's my fault. I've just been too slow at writing. I've been too much of a wannabe perfectionist, trying to really get the story right and get the facts right and have the sources, trying to find the right quotes and the right perspective on the information. It just hasn't come together as quickly and as fluidly as we had hoped, but it is coming. It is going to be done and it will absolutely be worth watching. I'm not going to put a date on it, but we're working towards it and not super far away, but it's going to take some more time. So I hope you can understand, and we appreciate that. And there's so much other distracting stuff going on. There's fake celebrations of the stars and stripes and patriotic slogans, and
there's the horror film.
I don't know, maybe in some ways it's better that our film not be associated with that, because really this is the deepest of dives, at least that we could do with the resources we have, into the real roots of this country and the real principles, the real promise that was never fulfilled. But the point is, this film will be worth watching. Liminality, or whatever we end up calling it, if that isn't it. And there's information you don't know, and it's worth understanding. But some of it you already have. Some of it's already in your gut. And you already know this country didn't make it to the 250th anniversary with its principles and rights intact. And I'm incredibly sad about that. All of our rights have been eroded or destroyed. They've been deliberately trampled on. And tyranny's cropped up again. It's pressing down on people. Everyone is feeling the boot on their neck. Prices are skyrocketing. They've made it impossible to live. It's kind of underpinned our entire career, my entire adult life, everything I've learned. And unfortunately, we're slipping so fast into a very unfree period.
What's special about today to you?
Just the excitement of celebrating what happened 250 years ago.
And we're trying to get a story out to remind ourselves, you know, what's underneath that, what things were maybe supposed to be a little bit more like. There's nothing perfect, there's no utopias, but the principles that are worth talking about, worth actually celebrating on the anniversary of our country, and the ones that we should keep in our minds and not throw out with the bathwater as technology and progress moves us forward.
It's fun and it's an enjoyable event. However, basic concepts of American democracy, representation, voting rights, talking about fair trial, talking about due process, human rights in so many different ways, those things are at risk today, and have been violated in many ways today. So that an event like this continues to be fun, it's enjoyable, it's a small town thing, but it has a new level of reality.
And as our country and as our world today is slipping into one of the worst tyrannies that we've known, we really need to rekindle the fires of liberty. We need to touch base again with the liberty, with the principles of freedom, with the rights that we're supposed to have and the reasons for them. Obviously, there are some things we're all going to need to fight against, say no to, stand up to, but we're going to have to regenerate a spirit for liberty, a spirit for freedom, a spirit for what is important. I don't know where we might be in a couple years or how bad this could get, but if we don't talk about it soon, it's going to get a lot worse a lot more quickly. It's going to be an important learning lesson. We've done our own real research. This month I read 4 books cover to cover, trying to make sure, just for the part that I'm on, that we have the right information and perspective. We've gone to the libraries. We traveled pretty well all across Europe and a good part of the United States.
One more time.
Are you filming me right now?
This is a sacrificial altar right here. But it's too dark for me to get any footage of it.
Will make his end shout, let's shout. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hooray!
Because it's rooted in very ancient history. It is rooted in the principles of liberty.
Well, it's a very traditional hat going way back. If you look at pictures from the French Revolution, they were wearing this hat, but it's a Greek concept. And traditionally they were red. And I think you'll see a hat like this that maybe says liberty.
You know, a lot of the story wasn't what I sort of thought it was going to be. There was more to it. And I've just been trying to get that and be able to get it across to people who may not have that background and catch everyone up as much as possible.
He was certainly independent. He didn't like being told what to do, and he didn't believe that men should be told what to do. I think he was certainly one for free will and free thinking. Hence, when you looked at a lot of what he did, he was always trying to push the boundaries, whether it was with architecture or religion or travel. And this got him into trouble, I think, quite often. You mentioned John Wilkes. Yeah, they were good friends initially. And then John Wilkes wrote his essay on women, and he sort of fell out and had a very public spat with my ancestors. And there is the case of the Hutchinson letters, which perhaps you could say dealt one of the final blows that were delivered to Franklin. And we'll never know the origin of them, but there is strong speculation.
We really appreciate all of you who've helped us come this far. It is still going to be released. It's definitely going to be worth watching. I think it's going to be an amazing film. And the story underneath it, it's just so fascinating and so essential to the time that we live in and looking back to where we came from. I obviously believe in this film, and I think it's going to be worth watching. And we're absolutely going to finish it, but I'm not going to put a date on it here for you. I don't think we're the only project to get behind or to slip behind our projected date, but we're honestly only 2 people. It is a lot for the 2 of us. I'm very excited about it. I hope you still are too. At the same time, we have things that have to be done, regular videos. We literally have to pay bills. We literally have to make ends meet. We have to do day-to-day things. We have chores and dishes and driving and duties and things that we have to do. But this film is happening. It just needs to get into its final stages. A lot of it is basically complete, and we're trying to work all that out. And we want to bring it home and deliver it to you. So if you can help us meet our final goals, check out some of the links in this video. And it's coming. It's coming soon. Liminality, or whatever this ends up being called, and everything else here on TrueStream. Thank you very much for your support. We love you all, and it means a lot to us that we have a chance to do this. And I hope you can understand we're just a little bit behind where we thought we were going to be. It won't be forever, but we're not going to make July 4th. So I hope you do celebrate out there the real principles that this country is supposed to be founded on.
As they have everybody walk along the same paths as each item happened on the same night. Wow, that's so many people.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can say that my family has felt the resentment of the people.
Well done, lads. Morty.
Stay strong out there. I know that everybody's going through stuff right now, and these are very difficult times, maybe the hardest times of anything that's ever happened in our lifetime or that we've really known about.
What are you driving at, Ben? Just this. I must tell a complete story. Tell a complete story? Right.
You know what? You're just going to have to see the film.
Now, let's take a look at this clip from Grand Theft World.
That aware of. Welcome back to Grand Theft World. Today we are joined by America's comedian, Emmy Award-winning writer, and fearless cultural critic. In the house with us is Kurt Metzger, also the host of The Derp with Kurt. Kurt, how the fuck you doing, bro?
I'm good. I'm also a doula.
Rebbe Maimonides, Kurt Maimonides.
Yeah, Kurt Merkaba.
Kurt Merkaba is in the house.
Kurt de Leon Merkaba. I'm just getting a my Kabbalah background. Not connected.
Well, the Kabbalah background only works if you put the red bracelet on. If you get the red thread, then the background works.
Hold on, let's see.
Now, is Gene Simmons upset that you have his wig on tonight, or what's up?
That's anti-Semitic, and I will not. I'll be out of here if I hear any more anti-Semitism about my my big.
Well, I thought KISS stood for Knights in Satan's Service, so I didn't think you could be anti-Semitic.
Do you think
and
it stood for that? Do you think that I did stand for that? Because people used to say that when I was younger. My mom would not let me listen to KISS because, she had taste.
I did not have the ability to verify such claims when I was in first grade hearing such things. So well played. Touche.
I mean, really, he's going to like Gene Simmons. Hold on. I almost got it. Gene Simmons is going to like, how many women did he? It's like
the rumor was he had his tongue cut a bunch of times so it would be elongated. That was another thing. There was also a couple. There was rumors about some other people back in the day.
Okay.
There was a Richard Gere rumor. There was some other. The rumors were a thing back then before the internet. There was no way to check them with facts.
Well, yeah, that's true. I would just believe whatever. I remember somebody in my school say you get AIDS and you just your toe. Some kid was like, "No, you get AIDS in your big toe, dude." I'm like, you can?
I remember someone in school that said you got AIDS from cereal boxes. Oh wait, that was Dr. Fauci. Sorry,
he said that. Really?
That was a thing. I'm pretty sure there's an ad campaign from back in the 80s, and there was an association between people getting AIDS and like touching stuff at breakfast, and Fauci was attached to it. I'm not sure if it was in a documentary that I saw.
Because I know Fauci was like, maybe don't try to hug people because it could, you could die. And that's fair enough. I mean,
they threw the scare into a lot of people back then with their psyops. They have only evolved their technology, not their methods so much.
Do you think that they always had retrovirals when they released the HIV virus? Because Kathy O'Brien said they were taking stuff so they didn't have to wear condoms ever when they were having their weird sex parties. Have you ever heard that before?
I mean, I've heard it from Kathy O'Brien, but I'm not sure as to any other sources for that. But I was looking around for Behold the Pale Horse because one of the things that Bill Cooper did have in there was a document that showed that there was like a military project in the 1970s to develop something that looked very similar to AIDS. And there was claims being made that may have been substantiated in the past 25 years since Bill Cooper included such documents.
Quiet Weapons or Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, that thing in the book. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's the one. There's also part of that book talked about Rothschilds converting energy into money. And it's like an energy management system that they use the currency for.
Dude, I mean... So if that, because there's supposedly a document like found in at Boeing or something in a printer.
Yeah, Silent Weapons for Quiet War. There's several of those documents out there that seem to be like some of them are written as satire. The report from Iron Mountain, which talks about like real things going on, but may not be the article and artifact that people present it as.
Really? So because it's so like dead accurate. And it's from a while ago.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure. Like, if there's, I'm pretty either.
Like, how is it so accurate if it's satire?
Let me see. I'm gonna type in. I'm gonna go to Corbett Report and type in Iron Mountain.
Oh,
because
Corbett
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
he's
that's
done.
a Kabbalah background. Look at that. Look at that.
Same thing with like the Albert Pike letter or the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's like,
there's the Albert Pike letter. There's that one that's like the Illuminati letter, right? There's also the Protocols, but the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars one is a lot. Like, I would assume it's some kind of satire, but look what's in it.
Of course.
It's more dead on now than any of them other ones. Those other ones are a little more vague than the ones than what's in that one. I was kind of shocked when I saw it because I didn't read it a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm looking on the so I'm looking at the results over here. Report Iron Mountain. It might have just taken it as a. Let me just type in Iron Mountain.
Corbett's got some good reports,
Because I'm pretty sure that he had covered this. I don't know, 15 years ago or something.
I mean, I can't believe how much this stuff is just in like Bill Cooper things. I wouldn't have thought that.
We need to get Corbett on Clip Genie, dude. Holy crap!
If he wants to be on Clip Genie, he can be on Clip Genie, right?
That's what I'm saying. I got to get him on, dude.
Oh, it was funny. Yeah, I saw you had Matt Ehret. I was watching. Where the hell is it? Here we go.
I don't know where the Bill Cooper book walked off to. I don't reference it very much because I don't take it as artifactual. Like, it's stories. But if you read those stories and then you find artifacts that match up to it, then it has some sort of veracity. But a lot of the claims in there are out of context. And
do you remember any that you think are kind of fishy claims?
What's that?
You remember what you think are fishy claims from it at all?
Well, just the observations on the Rothschilds, I don't think came from direct Rothschild papers. It's more of a esoteric understanding of how they're managing human capital, and then
Well, you know what they
articulate it. So
say?
it's useful if you match it up with the artifacts and evidence that say there's a real family with these things, and this is like useful in understanding them. Then that's fine, but it's not the proof.
You know, data harvesting via taxes, credit surveillance, and personal records is primary input. Manufacturing consent, division. Let's see. Wait, there's another one that was more specific. Hold on.
Yeah, the Behold a Pale Horse is the first, when you first start looking outside the narrative, it's the book that your friends are like, look, if you buy that book, you're going to go on a list. Right. And it's like the only one thing that they sold in Barnes and Noble back then. It was like conspiracy or conspiratorial outside the official narrative.
And then he got killed right after
November 2001. Yeah.
Yeah. So he predicted 9/11 and died. Was that the deal?
Yes. Death by
I
cop.
mean, that's really, wow.
It's what they call ironic, don't you think? Now, the Pike paper, the World War III reference, I think that is made up of whole cloth. I don't know where it originates in the timeline of history.
Wait, which one is that?
Where Albert Pike is talking about World War III.
I think
before
that's
World
not
War
real.
I and II. That's
I
what I'm
think
saying.
That's not real. Yeah.
So that's an example of a specious artifact that is passed around, that if you offer that, you're immediately just going to be taken out. And there's lots of those little psyop traps. I think they might be created on purpose for well-meaning people.
That's what those protocols I thought was, and that's what the Illuminati one that reads like the Protocols of Zion. It reads just like it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, what do they put a new one out every like 20 years or so? I just talked to Michael Hoffman on Dirt with Curb, and
do you have any of Hoffman's books?
Yeah, I got Twilight Language, but I let Duncan borrow it, and I need it back because I need to go back and look at the Rosicrucian part where they mapped out the thing they're doing now.
I have some Hoffman books. I was looking in the history blueprint. I only have Albert Hoffman in here, so I can't reference them.
He pointed out the thing
what
about
did he point out?
Okay, so I had this woman on that Sean Hazel hooked me up with, Deborah Jaffe, whose dad was Sam Jaffe, who was like an ABC reporter, and who's the guy? Something Powers. His spy plane got shot down over the Soviet Union. Remember that?
Francis Gary Powers, 1961.
Gary Powers.
U2 spy plane got shot down.
And her dad was a double agent or something, and probably a Manchurian candidate at the same time. Sam Jaffe. And Walter Cronkite had it in for him. It's a fucking crazy story. But I forgot why I brought it up because wait. There's a reason I brought this up. It wasn't just there was a very
well. You brought out the U2 spy plane and the shot down of Francis Gary Powers.
Before that,
Michael Hoffman
documents.
Okay. So she showed the picture of the three hobos arrested at the JFK assassination. E. Howard Hunt. Which did they ever explain why a CIA guy is pretending to be a hobo? That's never been addressed because that's a very strange thing.
We'll have to ask
Michael
Chris
Hoffman
Milligan
said
about
it's psychodrama, and those are the three ruffians that attack Hiram Abiff or something. They're doing psychodramas with these archetypes, and they always got to have those. And when I think of the three hobos, yeah.
So you're saying it's like a Masonic stage play, and the three hobos represent the guys who hit Hiram Abiff, and I
think that's who they're supposed to be, the unworthy.
Well, have you ever seen The Killing of the King?
Yeah, that's what he talks about.
You know what I'm talking? So like the whole Dealey Plaza is a Masonic. Like there's Masonic.
Yeah, he talks about
all
that.
over that thing. Ted Dealey of Dealey Plaza. He owned the newspaper that ran the JFK threat ad. I'm pretty sure that's Ted Dealey, who also owned the book Depository.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's Ted Dealey.
Wait,
right?
no, I thought the Depository was owned by
moved-
Admiral Byrd's brother.
I'm not too sure about that, but I know they changed the parade route, and so they could get the Nightmare on Elm Street thing going. So he drives right past the kill box, and the Killing of the King Masonic ceremony had all. I mean, so this is like I don't know what presentation I saw it in first, if it was Jordan Maxwell or who back in the day, but
Jordan Maxwell. Well, first of all, God showed his ass to Moses. I saw a pterodactyl once. Jordan Maxwell.
Jordan Maxwell is he's
takes a lot
he's
of
a place to
liberties.
start. He's a place to start. It's not like you take any presentation and take that for gospel. That's a place to start and start
I
looking.
mean, he'll
into
have
these
some
things.
real inaccuracies in there, and also he was hooked up with the Nation of Islam. Also, least like
Jordan Maxwell was.
Yeah.
Well, he's a Jehovah's Witness before because his name was Russell Pine. And I know that because I tried to book airline tickets for him to go to Canada to Paul Burge's premiere party. And he's like, you can't book it under Jordan Maxwell. You have to book it under Russell Pine. And I was like, dude, this is where I get off the train. Like, I don't know. Who's got two passports? Anyway, Jordan didn't
there's
come
some
to that meeting,
fishy with it.
But OTO Freemasons came to that meeting and threatened us basically after
Why?
the premiere. They didn't like the Carlin clip that my buddy Paul put in his movie Hijacking Humanity. Was a double disc DVD back in like 2006. And the whole Carlin clip we had in there about you have owners, you're not, they don't.
So they ran it on TV, didn't they? That bit?
Maybe on HBO, but like
That's
on one
thing.
level, these were just young dudes and like they were Freemasonry guys that went into OTO. So they were sent out to like harass truthers as like shits and
really
giggles. Yeah,
in person.
Yeah, this was at a premiere party. So Paul had the premiere at the Vancouver Science Center, as like a big auditorium, and then he had a party at his house. And then these dudes like came into the party, very intimidating, long black coats, talking about survival of the fittest, and this is how things are, and all sorts of nasty
Why
shit.
would they do something that crazy? That would not only verify.
Well, when they came in, they said, "Where is Jordan Maxwell here?" Because he was associated with the film, and these guys thought that he was going to be at the party.
Yo, he's some kind of spook or something. First of all, the amount of inaccurate shit he said is a lot. I mean, I started to notice it when I looked into this shit. Then, so Nation of Islam, they like license Scientology from Scientology for the people in their thing to use. Did you know that?
No.
If you join the Nation of Islam, you're going to be.
Do you get your cube in with that bonus deal, package deal?
I have no idea. I think that Wallace Fard guy, the white one from, I think he got killed. I think Elijah Muhammad killed him and was like, oh, he went to heaven. And
what'd you say? He killed Malcolm X? I didn't hear you. What? I'm sorry.
I think he killed both of them. I think he killed.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Wallace Fard, the one that is white.
Well, he was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Elijah Muhammad, I think, killed Wallace Fard, the white one. Elijah Muhammad wasn't really white. He was the guy that learned from Wallace.
Okay,
Fard.
So Wallace Fard was the first guy, because I remember we just played
Wallace
the
Fard's
documentary
first guy. It's
ago.
like Syrian or something, or Lebanese or some shit.
Yeah,
nobody really knows, but he suddenly disappears. And then I just recently saw a thing where like Elijah Muhammad tells his son, "Yeah, he's gone, and he went to heaven." I'm like, you killed him. Come on, but anyway, they licensed Scientology. I found this out from Aaron from the Seawork channel when he's on my show. So that's very odd because Will Smith is that weird Scientology Philly connection. That's the Hoodlum Mosque is in Philly. Then Jordan Maxwell is very popular with Farrakhan. And then when you read that Bannon book that Heather Lynn told me to read about by Teitelbaum, I forget his first name, but it's called I don't know. Teitelbaum's the author. It's the best book about Bannon. These guys are all game master, dungeon master magicians, all of them. They're all trading their systems of control with each other, all of them. And the Jehovah's, Jordan Maxwell, when I had Blair White on, Blair White Russell, who went to school in a goddamn black pyramid in Northern California, there's a left-hand path of Jehovah's Witnesses are like real fucked up Rosicrucians, like the real bad kind. And they live in, what did she say? Census designated.
Who funded Jehovah's Witnesses? Charles Taze Russell? Who was it?
Yeah, but Charles Taze Russell, we didn't worship. It wasn't like he was Joseph Smith or L. Ron Hubbard does, when I was in it. We didn't call him a prophet or some shit. In fact, they kind of were like, well, he got some stuff right, but he was wrong about a lot. But the light keeps getting brighter as we near end times. So you have an out, and they can adjust it. And so Rutherford took over after that. Judge Rutherford. I don't know what his deal is at all. There's probably something interesting there. But there's always a guy who comes in later and takes over there's like the Roy Kroc and the McDonald's brother, Everybody tries to be Jesus, but I'm thinking, how about I come in as Paul? I go, hey, look, I just showed up late to the game. Now I'm in charge.
Yeah, but Paul is dead, and that's why he has bare feet when he's crossing Abbey Road.
No, not that Paul.
Oh, different one?
You're not talking about
You're
Billy
talking about the one
Shears?
from the Bible?
Yeah.
The Bible, the Beatles. I get them mixed up, dude.
Why would you get them mixed up? They're not nowhere near each other. I mean, that's just nonsense talk. Do you believe the Billy Shears talk, though?
I don't know who Billy Shears is. What are you
The
talking
guy
about?
who replaced Paul?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know. I'm familiar with the conspiracy theory, but I'm not sure that is really.
Well, I'll tell you one that I don't believe whatsoever. It was just on Sean Atwood. Was a guy talking about how they think Michael Jackson is really Dave. You know, Dave. So that burn face guy that was on Larry King. And, okay, do you remember that guy from when you were a kid? Because I do. They made a TV movie about it. His real name's something Jewish. His dad lit him on fire.
Well,
Made
I mean, I remember
yeah.
Michael Jackson filmed Pepsi commercial. They set him on fire, and then they got him hooked to painkillers and took him to the
Yeah,
bank.
but
And then he bought the
Dave-
Beatles catalog, and then Tony Mottola didn't like that, and some other people didn't like that. And he said, they don't really care about you. Then they killed that man. And Rabbi
right.
Shmuley was there.
But
Yeah.
he's the great, the Hoggle from Labyrinth was there. But yeah, there's a guy named Dave, this burn face guy that was friends, and people think that's Michael Jackson, but it's not. That kid changed his last name to his own first name. I mean, he got a burn face. What are you gonna do, man? Cut him slack. Anyway, I remember the story of him. I remember him as a kid because I was really haunted as a kid seeing that somebody's dad lit them on fire. So I know that's a separate guy, but like nobody seems to remember that, and they all push this weird shit that there's really a burn face Michael Jackson who's still alive out there. No, it's this kid. Also, I heard Michael Jackson, the Jehovah, his dad was into some occult shit. And Jay Parker talks about them dumping that black oil or whatever in your ear. And bandmates of Joe Jackson talk about witnessing him doing that to Michael Jackson, pouring some kind of weird shit into his ear. I don't know what the fuck it is.
I think Diddy was the second generation of the Clive.
Diddy was used as a living altar, which is
the Quincy
not good.
Jones, Barry Gordy.
Yeah, his mom was some kind of voodoo bitch and tried to de-gay him with incest. And they imply it in Netflix thing, if you're paying attention. They totally imply his mom tried to like straighten him out with some incest, I guess, because he was a little bit of a, he didn't have a dad. He seemed a little bit acey-deucey,
I didn't catch that Netflix thing. Hey, is this the
50 Cent one?
Is this the same? Oh, sorry. Damn, I'm hitting the wrong buttons tonight. Is this the same Michael Hoffman that you interviewed?
Michael L. Hoffman, I interviewed, yeah. And that's a picture of Duncan Trussell, I believe, right there in the middle.
Next, we have this clip from Cognitive Dissidents.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Cognitive Dissidents. I am your host, Parallel Mike. I'm joined by my co-host. But before I introduce them, I just wanted to let people know that I have recently changed the name of my Substack. Unfortunately, somebody was impersonating me, guys. Somebody was impersonating me and trying to get people's bank account details on Substack. So this has been happening a lot. You just report those accounts, but just want to let everyone know that my new publication name is the PM Report. So if you can find Parallel Mike, you'll find that it links through to the PM Report. You'll see all of my posts and articles. It'll be obvious that it's me. So there's my quick plug, and I'm going to hand it over now to Monica.
I'm Monica Perez. Monica Perez Show. You can find it anywhere. But because Parallel Mike said that the best stuff I ever did was deep dives, I am bringing them back. So I just did a couple of deep dives. The last one was on the AI philanthropy windfall, and I think I cracked the code on what that's all about. I'll give you guys a teaser later in this show, but if you want to hear my whole deep dive on it, it's the latest at the Monica Perez Show.
I had that bookmarked. I thought it had the word world government in it. And
I
I'm
did.
like,
It was big philanthropy as world government, but it all derived from all this money they're getting from the SpaceX and other AI public offerings.
all I hear is world government. I'm like, you got me. I'm sold.
Yes.
But and yes, I'm put away from geopolitics and empire. This gets sometimes confusing because this also comes into the Geopolitics and Empire podcast feed for people out there who are not aware of our cognitive dissonance sort of roundtable. And I do have a few quick plugs. ETT.live. So I'll be doing my first ever live workshop, although it won't principally be me. It'll be the Watchmen Privacy Group, Escape the Technocracy experts, Gabriel Custodiet, and Urban Hacker, the experts privacy and surveillance. Is going to be July 20th, Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, about 3 hours, give or take, $149 early bird. They did one with the esteemed John Padfield, who I've also had on my podcast. They did a live workshop, and so basically, if you do the workshop, the code that I have doesn't get you anything off, so it's 149, take it or leave it, early bird. And basically, it's Gabriel and Urban giving you a crash course on escaping the technocracy, going through everything: VPNs, Linux, de-googling phones, hosting, whatever. And you can ask questions all throughout the course. And then we might have a overdrive session answering the questions, and I'll be there jumping in and out as well. So that helps me, that helps Watchman Privacy, and I hope it gives people value. I've only these last few days been setting up even more my de-Google phone. I mean, it's working very well. I've been able to set up some mainstream Google app like WhatsApp for my public number, and do also check out expatmoney.com/geopolitics. That's my other sponsor for this summer, Mikkel Thorup. You get a 25-page report there. Sorry, guys. All right, I'm done. Let's go, Mike.
I've got a good community member and friend called Marcio. So big shout out to Marcio down there in Brazil. He's an expert in the surveillance and privacy around phones. And he basically says if you truly want privacy, you need to have multiple phones. You need to have dumb phones. You have a phone for banking that you only use for banking. And it's about separation. So, yeah, I think sometimes with the de-Googled stuff, it's not as robust as people think. So, yeah, but yeah, maybe one day Marcio will come on my podcast and I'll be able to get him to share that with you all. But my friends, we are back since our last episode because we did have a break. We had our members only Q&A session. So that's currently out on our respective Substacks if you missed it. So normally it's every 2 weeks, but we did have a break so we could do that. So it's been about a month and we had, what did we have? We had Pride Month. So yeah, devastated about that one ending. I'm sure listeners are too. But this month we do have some major holidays as well. It's the 250th anniversary on 4th of July. When is it? 3 days. And, there's a lot of people talking about it. There's people saying something might happen in my financial sphere. Some people are talking about a gold revaluation because of some crazy Liberty Bell coin that the US Mint is producing to go on sale for 4th of July. And they've priced it at like 20 grand for a 1 ounce coin. So some people are speculating. I think it's clearly not a gold revaluation. But in any case, yeah, lots of people talking about what might happen. I'm more interested in whether this is really a celebration at all. I don't know if any of you two saw those images coming from Capitol Hill. There was this big fun fair that Donald Trump put on to celebrate, and it was just empty. Every video that I saw, all of the photographs, it's very sparse crowds. Nobody turned up. And, after last year with the Epstein stuff and the big letdown of Trump's second presidency for MAGA, I just don't know if people want to celebrate the virtues and the ideals of the Declaration of Independence when all of this is happening in America. And people, I mean, let's face it, right now in America, nobody is consulted, the populace or citizens, nobody's consulted on anything that's important, whether it's the AI data centers, what's happening in the justice system with Epstein, COVID lockdowns, the grift as well with politics. So I'd love to get your two guys' take on this as American citizens. Are your families excited about this, or have people given up in America? Are they going to be celebrating this one, or do you get the feel that people are starting to feel a little bit exhausted with it all?
I did not see that of them all. And I had already written that I wanted to talk to you guys about this because the energy level for this thing, it's called the semi-quincentennial, I think, the 250th anniversary. It's just a nothing burger. It's really low energy. And I know that the 200th anniversary, which was 50 years ago, was huge. There were year-long celebrations. People were painting. I remember there's a fire hydrant in my neighborhood. All the fire hydrants were painted red, white, and blue because there was a contest. And there was just such excitement back then. And there's none. And I had some insight into that, I think, which is so I live in LA. So for me to say I'm not excited about this country and where it is. I'm not celebrating America. And the people around me feel the same way because they hate Trump so much that they're like ashamed of the country. They're embarrassed. So similar to the TDS thing, the Trump derangement syndrome, where I hate Trump for the wrong reasons. So I'm not part of the club. I don't get to, people still hate me because I'm not just saying that he's a lunatic and he's a fascist. And that's not my problem. My problem is he's an actor and a puppet, et cetera, and a warmonger, of course, but they want Ukraine. So they're warmongers too. They can't just be strict about that. And my feeling was, okay, so we're all down on America, but because we're down on America for different reasons, we don't share a vision. My side wants to go back and restore the Constitution, restore the Bill of Rights. Their side wants to go forward with progressivism and communism or socialism or whatever the memes they're being fed now in that regard. And that's like a classic. I think I've looked at revolutions from the American Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the French Revolution, and even the counterculture revolution in the 60s here, where whoever would foment a revolutionary spirit, they go in there and they get people pissed at what's happening. They get them to tear it down. But because they are tearing it down for different reasons, they have no shared vision of how to rebuild it. And so you see every one of the big revolutions, American, Russian, French, after 10 years, it gets hijacked by from the Articles of Confederation to the Constitution, from, I guess, like the Mensheviks to the Bolsheviks or whatever. And like you can just see there's this cycle where all of a sudden you have these new rulers that you put in place just by creating that vacuum for them. And I see that happening. And I also see that thing about Epstein, that thing about losing faith in the process, losing faith in the government. And I've noticed that there are some alt media personalities who you would think wouldn't even understand how they are fake or whatever, what their agenda is. And the agenda with some of them is simply to undermine faith in the law or the process. And it's really exploited by the libertarian side. And because we need process. You need the Fourth Amendment. You need the Bill of Rights. We need the process to protect us from this out of control government. And you don't want to scrap that while this thing is still out of control. But people really focus on tearing down those essential protections without having the possibility of putting in a new plan. But anyway, so because of the massive disgruntlement in this country, the 250th is like an embarrassment. And I think we're going to continue in that direction. It's not good.
Some of my quick thoughts. What do I have to celebrate when I still have to pay the IRS as a freaking Mexican? Like, what kind of freedom? I'm a U.S. born citizen, but I'm a naturalized Mexican living in Mexico for 15 years, and it's kind of like, and I just filed and paid my taxes, and there's people out there who don't do it, and I'm like, because of the nature of my work, I feel I have to do it. I know there's listeners out there who have absconded to some remote part of the world, and that's your deal. And then the other thing, I just had a podcast guest from out of Indiana, and he commented something rhymes with what you're saying, that out there in Indiana, which is a red state, he said that all of a sudden, as of late, you've seen the American flags come down, the MAGA stuff come down, particularly after the Iran war. And people just, so there's the warmongering, as you mentioned, the feudalism, the killing of the middle class, as Trump family grifts, making billions, crypto and their family's deals with, Don Jr.'s drone deals and energy deals in the Balkans and this and that, getting impunity from the IRS forever, as we talked about previously. Yeah, and I feel already that we're underworld government, and I don't feel this national pride anymore for any of my three countries. I mean, we were watching the World Cup game yesterday where Mexico beat Ecuador, and even the people I'm with aren't really like football people, but they sense as Mexicans that national pride, and they're going crazy when Mexico hit 2 goals again, 2-0 Ecuador. And I was like the outlier. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's a sports thing. I just cannot get ginned up for football or even the nationalist element for that. And it goes back to me, the Martin Erdman and others who point out the civil the civil religion aspect of our countries today, where, the whole democratic process, I think he calls it romantic democracy, Erdman, the voting process, it's all controlled by this occult oligarchy, and I just don't want to participate anymore. And I feel like we've crossed the Rubicon. There may have been a time in the past where we had these organic entities of states, but I feel like we're fully in world government. So those states only exist only on paper, but in reality, in practice, the 50 states in the U.S., the federated states, are being run by the corporate systems, by the public-private stakeholder fascism. Right. And so if I feel like, what am I celebrating? Waving this flag to me feels like I'm participating in a lie. But I know people have different opinions, but that's just my feeling. Yeah. So.
Now, we take a look at this clip from Charlie Robinson and Catherine Austin Fitts.
Please enjoy my conversation with Catherine Austin Fitts. Well, it's my honor to have a chance to talk to you, Catherine, about the real estate industry. I never get a chance to talk to anybody about real estate. I have spent 30 years as a broker in California and Nevada. I was there for the boom and the bust and saw all of that.
Where in California? Where in California?
I'm from Southern California, Palm Springs area. But I did most of my real estate in Las Vegas and started in around 2000. I was a broker in 98 in California, but really in Vegas in 2003 was when I got there and rode that wave up and then saw the crash. And it was a real education for me. You think you know real estate, you don't. You think you understand money, you don't. I had to read John Perkins' book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, for the light bulb to go off that what we were doing on a small scale, loaning money to people who had no path towards paying it back for houses, the economic hitmen were doing on a much bigger scale, loaning money to countries from the IMF and the World Bank. And then it hit me. This was a gigantic scam. I then come across your work and your background. And again, this is more confirmation that the real estate industry is diabolical. I'm wondering if you saw recently here, I know you're out of the country currently, but recently they just passed, I don't know if they passed it, but they announced it, a cap on private equity purchases of residential homes. I think they put it at 350 homes, that was going to be the number. I don't know how they came up with that. But the caveat that they put in there was that these private equity firms could buy the homes up to 350, but then they were capped. However, they could build. And I thought, oh, okay, I see where this is going. We're going to get a bunch of mergers and acquisitions in the home building industry. And immediately after I had that thought, Taylor Morrison announces that they're selling to Berkshire Hathaway. Where are we going with private equity, the marriage between private equity and residential real estate? It seems like a catastrophe, but I don't know where this is headed.
So I don't know where it's headed either, because there are multiple scenarios. And one of the things, we have a whole generation of millennials and Gen Z who at some point are going to start wanting single family homes. And that wave is coming. And the question is, who's going to provide the home building for that wave, and how much of it is going to go through the liquid markets, how much are going to go through the private markets, how much are going to be small business. We don't know the answer. I don't think a cap on 350 is meaningful, because there are numerous ways you can just create more and more vehicles and do 350 times 1,000. Do you know what I mean? Right. So I don't. The private equity challenge is a much bigger challenge. We have a meltdown in sort of financial standards across the board in the financial system. And, you can't fix it by putting a cap on, 350 down here. Right. You got a problem up here. And until you change that problem up here, you're going to keep getting messes. So I don't think it's going to make a big difference.
What about private equity in general? Are they regulated? Because it feels as though they're unregulated in terms of what they're buying, the backbone really of America, these small, medium-sized businesses.
Right. So what you're doing is you're doing roll-ups, and you're rolling up, and the reality is the way to change it is to cut them off from our capital. In other words, the problem is not private equity is rolling up. The problem is that our pension funds, our IRAs, our 401ks are financing this. So if you want to stop it, stop financing it. Right? I keep seeing these meetings of people trying to stop data centers. And if you look at their 401ks and IRAs, who did they think is financing those data centers? Yeah. Right? So America's in a state of multiple personality disorder where our alumni universities think they're going to get more money in private equity than the liquid markets. They were wrong, but not until they used up a whole bunch of the endowment that we think is, part of what's backing our alumni network. Ditto with our state pension funds, ditto with not as much with corporate pension funds. But we've seen a real breakdown of fiduciary obligation. And now the Department of Labor is literally trying to regulate that it breaks down for 401ks. So, how do you get a society from being corrupt to being not corrupt? Well, one of the reasons is you enforce the antitrust laws. And when businesses use illegal surveillance and covert operations to affect acquisitions, you enforce against them. So, now that's a problem because they in the crypto industry in combination are huge donors in Washington. Yeah. And Washington has made it clear the country's for sale. And I hate to say this, many Americans, as long as they're making money in their 401ks and IRAs, are like, we're okay with that as long as we're making money.
This is concerning, of course. There's no enforcement at the top. Is that sort of the issue, or is everybody at the top sort of financially incentivized to keep this going?
I would say that there is no meaningful enforcement at the top. If you don't enforce antitrust laws and businesses are free to use criminal tactics in combination with the intelligence agencies and covert operations to do acquisition strategies and torture people who stand in their way, you've got a mafia country. You've got a grifter nation. So, to me, we have a serious problem, but it's a crime problem. It's a crime wave. And I don't know if you saw the Epstein testimony of Pam Bondi when she was still Attorney General. But she said, why are we talking about this? The Dow's at 50,000. Right. And that's the trade-off. Americans have said, as long as I get the check, it's fine. You can bring narcotics in and market narcotics to the kids in my neighborhood as long as my stock portfolio is high. And God love Pam Bondi. She told the truth. She said, what do we care if pedophiles are roaming free as long as our stock portfolio is high? That's been the political trade-off since Goldwater, right? And that's the political trade-off that's going to have to change. And Washington and Wall Street can't do that. We have to do that.
How do we change the incentive structures so that destruction isn't the end goal?
So here's the first thing. The first thing you do is you bring transparency. Okay? And I think that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to bring transparency. That's why you have a show, right? So that there's an honest conversation. And one thing I can say from the statistics, it seems to me America is walking away from the corporate media. They're tired of being lied to, and they don't trust the corporate media at all, and that's a good thing. But the second thing they have to do is we all have to take responsibility to, get our minds out of the media and take a look at what's going on around us in our family and our community and say, okay, how do we bring this back to something that's fundamentally healthy? And that means facing, all this corruption is going on in your county. It's going on in my county. We have to deal with it at that county level. And one of the good things about the flock cameras in the data centers is they're forcing people to deal, suddenly they're saying they're seeing this thing go in, because the critical question is not what is the value of our money. The critical question here is it going to be our money or is it going to be somebody else's money? Are we going to move the entire financial system on a distributed ledger? God forbid we also move real estate on a distributed ledger. And suddenly you've got an automatic third lock switched up into our surveillance system, and it's not our money and it's not our assets anymore. And so, we've been letting this get worse and worse and worse and worse. And now we're coming into the end game. And the reality is they're planning on implementing, digital technology, which will give them control of your money. So we saw Besant say, we just seized $1 billion of Iranian wallets like that. Okay, well, what do you think when your stocks and bonds are moved onto the distributed ledger, which DTC is doing as we speak, that can happen to you too.
This makes me nervous because I see a variety of levels to this. As you mentioned, America, the United States, trying to get people onto this distributed ledger, stablecoins. But then we've got the BIS talking about a universal rail system. What does that look like moving forward? I mean, I am of the opinion that if you allow everything to be put onto the blockchain for full review, well, it kind of goes both ways. On the one hand, theoretically, you'd be able to see what the government is doing. I don't know that they would like that. On the other hand, once you sign up for that, you can never get off, right? Or if you take that path, are you committed?
If you think that in a million years, I don't believe the U.S. government will ever limit itself to a distributed ledger. They will have open database systems for themselves, right? So, but let's look at what happened. The banks have announced they're going to move bank deposits onto distributed ledgers. Is that all bank deposits or a percentage? We don't know. I'm assuming they'll start with pilots. The stable coins we know are on a distributed ledger, and we're looking at an aggressive marketing of, supposedly a growth of stable coins after the Genius Act, after the rulemaking period is over. But now DTC, which is responsible for archiving the records for 114 trillion of stocks and bonds, is implementing a pilot starting in July with 50 brokerage firms and exchange firms to move 114 trillion stocks and bonds onto distributed ledgers. So we're talking about connecting potentially the surveillance system with an automated third lock on all stocks and bonds, on stable coins, and on bank deposits.
Is this the great taking?
Well, this creates the infrastructure you need for a great taking.
Now we take a look at this episode of New World Next Week.
Welcome back to New World Next Week. I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com.
And I'm James Evan Pilato of MediaMonarchy.com. The standard is extremely low, and the chances of them not getting it through are, quite frankly, almost nothing. We have got that story, plus deathless billionaires. But first, deathless billionaires NATO summit in Ankara. Who's attending? What's at stake? Scumbags? Weapon sales? NATO leaders meeting in Ankara, Turkey this past Tuesday and Wednesday. Summit got underway as U.S. DJ President Trump renews pressure on the member states over defense spending. It's really more offense. European nations expected to respond with billions of dollars in new military contracts. At the NATO summit last year, members agreed to increase their target to 5% of their GDP, 3.5% on military spending by 2035, and 1.5% on security-related needs. Leaders from all 32 NATO members, you can't just get one more in there, are at the summit in Turkey this week. Two non-alliance heads of state, of course, will be there. The one most likely to become the 33rd member, of course, Volodymyr Zelensky from Ukraine, and South Korea's Lee Jae-myung. Australia, Japan, New Zealand are sending defense or foreign ministers, as are Gulf countries affected by the U.S. war on Iran, which has gone completely hot again. Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Syrian President Ahmad al-Sharaa is not expected to attend the summit, but is holding a little side action meeting with Trump in Ankara. Trump has questioned NATO's value since his first presidential campaign. He argued that the U.S. carried an unfair share of the costs. At the time, only 5 countries spent the agreed 2% GDP on defense. His questions about shared defense responsibility have produced some results in recent years within the alliance as member states pledged an increased defense budget. Germany beats out ambitious South Korea bid for Canada's biggest arms buy. James, Trump's bad, but also kill yourself. I love watching fake peaceniks like Canada and France spend and sell billions of dollars in weapons of war. Remember, March 11th, 2024, France overtakes Russia as world's number 2 arms exporter. We will include the link right to the Horse's Mouth NATO 2026 summit in Ankara, a few other related links on a little bit of warmongering and weapons. U.S. strikes Iran as Trump meets with NATO leaders in Turkey, as Trump signals openness to selling some F-35 fighters to Turkey on that little side meeting. Trump renews Greenland threats at NATO summit, says U.S. could remove troops from Europe. I love those kind of threats. UK to unveil $50 billion NATO effort for deep strike weapons, and Canada to reveal new global defense bank at NATO summit. James, this says it all to me. It feels all in a nutshell. Trump's bad, but paying for our own weapons is even worse, right?
The hypocrisy is galling, isn't it? But for those of us who can actually walk and chew bubblegum at the same time, Trump's bad and NATO's bad. Imagine that. Wow, we can say it all.
Why not both?
Exactly. But it does, you raise the interesting question. What even is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in 2026? A full, 3.5 decades after the fall of the evil Soviet boogeyman. What even is NATO? And I think you encapsulate it pretty well there. Scumbags and defense spending. Offense spending, as you rightly correct there. Let's get some of the flavor of that from some of the updates. As we are recording here Thursday morning, Japanese time, I believe they're just wrapping up the summit right now. So there might be some new stories that we miss coming out of there. But some of the latest that I have, Zelensky in Ankara still insistent on Ukraine joining NATO. So if there is going to be a 33, it might be Ukraine, and that might be World War III. Cool. And also this new U.S. attacks on Iran were absolutely necessary, says NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, because of course he is going to say that, along with the defense offense spending side of this, which I think is the real point of this. War is a racket. We all know that phrase. Do we really know what it means? Yes, war is essentially ka-ching, ka-ching for a certain section of society. And these are the people that are gathering at the NATO summit. One example of that here from Zero Hedge, Rutte touts literally billions invested to drastically ramp up NATO's drone capabilities. Yay. And in case we need to hammer the point home any further, there is a separate forum that's taking place on the sidelines of this meeting called the NATO Summit Defense Industry Forum. Because, of course, this is just bringing together the military-industrial complex with the people who are feeding them the contracts. Yeah, of course, they're collaborating. This isn't conspiracy. This is actually how the system functions. This is what it's for. It is for feeding the never-ending war machine. And yeah, there's that weird story about Canada launching some sort of global defense bank at NATO. I will have more to say on that in my newsletter this weekend. It's a strange little story, but I think ties into a bigger picture. So I'll be elaborating on that this weekend. Stay tuned to CorbettReport.com for that.
We have that in the show notes coming from the cradle. Canada to reveal new global defense bank at NATO summit. James, I know recently I've been griping on here about looking for people to actually put their source notes into their videos. And you know who I ran back into the other day playing one of his latest videos on my morning show this morning? The one and only Dabu. You click his show notes. It's the stories that he's discussing. Here's my bibliography. And then after all that, if you like my work, buy me a coffee. You can support me. Dabu rules. Love you, buddy. Yeah, I don't know if you've been to like conferences or conventions, there's like breakout meetings and other smaller groups that they literally call them breakout meetings. But yeah, the arms makers fund both sides, always have and always will. And in related news, wondering about why Ukraine, or who others might be in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Canada will be allowed to join Eurovision. You know, the NATO Battle of the Bands song contest, James. That's how we get going on New World Next Week, episode 636. And our second story, James, this trial is probably getting much, much closer. And it just struck me, I don't know that we've actually covered what ended up being a little surprising to myself, one of the biggest stories of the last decade. And that's the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Just grabbing it from the AP. Former officer describes finding rooftop sniper pad after Charlie Kirk assassination. A former campus police officer testified that he found an apparent sniper pad on a rooftop near where Charlie Kirk was assassinated as prosecutors sought to convince a state judge they have enough evidence to put a Utah man on trial for murder. Former Utah Valley University officer Christopher Bagley said he witnessed Kirk's shooting while the conservative activist was speaking on September 10th to a crowd of thousands. Soon after, Bagley searched a nearby gravel rooftop where it appeared someone had been lying prone with a clear sight line to Kirk's location. He said, "Looks like a sniper's pad." That's the artist formerly known as Sniper's Nest. That's what they always called the Oswald Book Depository, but now it's a pad. Bagley said, "You've got markings of elbows, knees, and feet." The testimony came as Kirk's parents, Catherine and Robert, and his widow, Erica, were in the courtroom for the first time since the case began, along with the president's son, Donald Trump Jr. Again, we are not in ordinary times. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty for he finally gets a mention about 5 paragraphs into the article for defendant Tyler Robinson, 23, who is charged with aggravated murder. Robinson turned himself in the day after the shooting. He has not yet entered a plea, and his attorneys have not yet commented on his guilt or innocence. They have, however, sought to get the death penalty taken off the table, so far unsuccessfully. Prosecutors showed several videos of Kirk's shooting as they made their case to District Judge Tony Graff. Attorneys from both sides tried to literally shield their monitors from courtroom spectators after Graff said the assassination videos couldn't be publicized because of their graphic nature. The sound was still audible in court. Kirk's response to a question about mass shootings in the U.S. is interrupted by a loud pop, followed by screams. The proceedings this week resemble a mini trial, which the red underline on my text file says that's not a real word, but it resembles a mini trial. Prosecutors need only demonstrate that there are reasonable grounds to believe Robinson killed Kirk. Prosecutors should have little trouble advancing their case, said Mark Corris, former prosecutor and state judge in Salt Lake City. This standard is extremely low, and the chances of them not getting it through are quite frankly, almost nothing. Now an adjunct professor for the University of Utah's S.J. Quinney College of Law, prosecutors allege Tyler Robinson confessed in a note left for his gender-fluid furry roommate, who was also his romantic partner, that read, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." No idea why Lance Twiggs isn't charged in this case as well. FBI forensic examiner testifies, this is the latest I have for you from today's hearing, that DNA from Tyler Robinson and his gay lover was found on items left after Charlie Kirk's murder. James, have you been... I don't know why I guess I should be surprised about anything this day and age. The massive effect of this event, and not to downplay the brutal snuff film assassination of anybody, but just one odd sidebar. You know, I do a lot of music coverage in Media Monarchy. All last year, I did a chronological deep dive into Ramones every Friday over the entire year. And I was using a guy's YouTube videos. They were little short reviews of Ramones albums, and they were perfect to use. And I was downloading them, some of them, then his channel scrubbed. Where did all the Ramones reviews videos go? He removed all of that, changed his description to say he is a man of Christ, and had videos about Charlie Kirk's shooting. I was like, man, this has rattled a bunch of people. I don't know what your take is over there, though.
Yeah, if this is the biggest story of the decade, I would maybe add the caveat in America, because honestly, I don't think anyone over here is talking about it. But yeah, I haven't been following this story at all, so I know nothing about the twists and turns. I don't even know Lance Twiggs or whatever reference that is. Having looked into it exactly 0%, I am certain it was some sort of conspiracy in some way. This is the only question, is what way. And I know there was all this stuff about Egyptian planes and French Secret Service and Mossad. And now I've understand it's 100% totally definitively concluded it was an exploding microphone, not a gun. Whatever. I don't know. As I say, I'm not following this at all. I have never listened to Charlie Kirk for 1 second in my entire life, and I don't plan to start now. So I haven't been following this at all. But if people are interested in following this story, will you be covering the twists and turns of the trial on Morning Monarchy?
I definitely will, if not in depth every single day, but just as it moves forward. Because we also, speaking of American trials, we've also got the Luigi Mangione case that's going to be coming up here pretty soon in New York. Really interesting. Yeah, just strange, bizarre things. Definitely lots of pointing fingers at the aforementioned Mossad. I saw stuff today that said Ben Shapiro was receiving information that was more concerned about his situational awareness than his buddy dying on the way to the hospital. Just really weird stuff. The main conspiracy being Charlie Kirk said, I'm not going to kiss Israel's ass. And he suddenly very much was not. So I think it's good that we get that on the record here on New World Next Week as things move at a rapid pace. And we have been serving up New World Next Week for you since October 2009. James, I played a clip from from our episode This Day in 2010. I don't even know what number it was. It was so low we weren't even numbering them yet. Our third and final story takes us, of course, to wild card territory in New World Next Week. Millionaire who spends $2 million annually to live forever has incurable disease. Good night, everybody. Anti-aging millionaire Brian Johnson. It's a boring name. Tech entrepreneur famous for spending nearly $2 million a year to reverse aging has revealed a devastating health battle that even his obsessive wellness routine couldn't prevent. The 48-year-old disclosed that he has been diagnosed with autoimmune gastritis, American AIG, a rare condition in which the body's immune system attacks the stomach lining. In a candid post on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, Johnson stunned followers by writing, I have an autoimmune disease, my stomach is eating itself. He warns that the illness often develops silently, affecting an estimated 2 to 5% of people, and can lead to iron deficiency, anemia, and even an increased risk of stomach cancer if left undetected. Brian Johnson revealed that he had the disease had likely been progressing unnoticed for years. His godlike doctors couldn't find it? Although he was diagnosed with hypothyroidism at the age of 21 and managed it with hormone replacement therapy, another hidden autoimmune disorder was quietly damaging his stomach. Despite trying different iron supplements, dietary changes, and other interventions, his body's iron stores never recovered. The breakthrough came after Johnson overhauled his medical team, fired a bunch of people, which ordered a bidirectional endoscopy. Glad I can mangle those words. That means I haven't actually had to go through that stuff. Blood tests and multiple stomach biopsies. Blood work showed anti-parietal cell antibodies nearly 5 times above the normal limit, while stomach biopsies confirmed early-stage autoimmune gastritis, AIG if you're nasty. His colonoscopy came back completely normal, ruling out hidden internal bleeding. According to Johnson, the diagnosis also explained the connection between his thyroid disorder and chronic iron deficiency, a combination doctors referred to as thyrogastric syndrome. In related news, Brian Johnson received one Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. He publicly shared on LinkedIn that he received the shot, noting his amazement that it was one of the first investments through his venture capital firm, OS Fund. So he literally, he can, fund it all for himself. This reminds me, did you ever hear of a movie with, Robert De Niro and Bradley Cooper, 2 of my favorite intelligence cutouts? They made a movie called Limitless, PG-13, 2011, a mysterious pill that enables the user to access 100% of his brain's abilities, transform a struggling writer into a financial wizard. But it also puts him in a new world with many dangers. The related links: meet the longevity billionaires who refuse to die. Maybe that's this guy's problem. He's just a millionaire. And as I've said a million times on my show, there's no way all rich people are bad. As I have said, if I get rich, I promise you I won't create problems. You will never literally ever see me again. New heights for new limit. One word, camel case, as anti-aging biotech nabs $435 million to rejuvenate old cells. No, you can't buy stock in them yet. But yeah, Father Time remains undefeated. You know, apart from Keith Richards. Hey, sidebar, new Rolling Stones album comes out this Friday, James. What about this weirdo, man?
Thank you for, I better add the note to my calendar. Do not buy anything on that day. Anyway, Stones. Anyway.
That's right. You're the Beatles guy. Sorry.
I'm just not a Stones fan. Having said that, for people who don't know about this obsession that the new Silicon Valley technocratic elite have with beating death, well, you can look up into it. For example, you can see my Strange Story of Peter Thiel, Part 3, Peter Thiel as a Vampire, in which I go through the various parts of the puzzle showing how Peter Thiel is massively invested in these various companies doing things like harvesting the blood of the young for transfusion into the elderly so that they can maintain their youth. And although there is no direct evidence, at least not in the public record, that Peter Thiel is a literal blood-drinking vampire, chances are. But having said that, so this isn't just Thiel. It isn't just this Brian Johnson guy. It's literally all these Silicon people are obsessed with it, with one notable exception. And I'll throw in this intriguing little article that's just come out in the past few days. Elon Musk's answer to mortality. And as people know, I am not part of the cult of personality of this Neuralink brain chipping military intelligence cutout SpaceX technocratic overlord. But he does say things at the very least to be contrary. And in this case, broken clocks, right? Twice a day. He, for example, recently said there is some benefit to death. Yes, exactly. He warned that dramatically extending human lifespans could lead to an ossification of society, leaving institutions increasingly rigid and ideas stultifying as the same generation remained in power indefinitely. And ultimately, this article goes on to make the point that Musk does believe that ultimately death is kind of an engineering problem that will be solved by technology, but maybe we shouldn't prioritize that because maybe people should die anyway, which, you know, come to think of it, coming from somebody in his position with his power, maybe that's not such a good thing after all. But no, the idea that, you know, maybe death and new life is actually a good thing, and maybe this is part of the way humans should exist on this planet, rather than trying to live forever. What could go wrong? Oh, right, an incurable disease that I got after my millions and millions sunk into my health regimen. I'll live forever. I'll live forever. It's like a Twilight Zone story. So the Schadenfreude is palpable and tasty at this point. I don't know if it's as tasty as good as the blood of the young, because I don't plan on drinking it myself, but anyway, I'll take what I can get.
And I mean, you get right at it. These are almost movie level cliches of crazed billionaires trying to beat death, but I think failing to actually live life. Another interesting character. Yeah, I mean, Elon's one of my favorite broken clocks. Like Jared Leto, the interesting Laurel Canyon figure. He's got a movie called Mr. Nobody, where he is one of the last people who hasn't had an interference that helps you live and live and live. It's maybe half a little bit of Logan's Run, but I think a lot of the film is him lying on his deathbed as the last icky human that's going to die as he's remembering all of these things. I've never actually seen it. As long as we're mentioning sketchy folks and some of their, best work, one of my favorite Woody Allen jokes is, I don't want to achieve immortality through my work. I want to achieve it through not dying. Castbot runs newworldnextweek.com. That's got your New World Next Week. Oh, I don't think there's any hats. I'll stop talking about the hats we don't have in stock. Everything that's in stock is at newworldnextweek.com. And I also play the exclusive audio of these New World Next Week episodes on my Monarchy stream at MediaMonarchy.com/listen. James, I have gone 24/7. If you play it in VLC, it'll show you the artist. It'll show you the title. My shows are on there. Our shows are on there. I hit my microphone. It's fantastic.
Excellent. Good plug. I hope people will check it out. And you raised the specter of Limitless earlier, right? With Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro. I haven't seen that movie about achieving 100%, unlocking 100% of your brain power. But I have watched Lucy, starring Scarlett Johansson. It's a Luc Besson film. Have you seen that one? It is
I have not.
bonkers. It is an absolutely incredibly bad movie in ways that are baffling and made it somewhat entertaining. So if you are looking for an incredibly bad movie, I would suggest that one.
Yeah, it's a low bar right there. It's possible that did Chemical Brothers do the score? That might be the main thing that I might know about it.
Yeah,
I might
don't
be
remember the
mixing
score.
it up.
I just remember how absolutely bafflingly terrible that movie was. But anyway,
well, James,
that
that's New World Next Week, episode 636. We are going to turn our air conditioners back on. UK be damned.
Exactly. All right. Thank you. Let's do it again.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks.
Fuck this shit. I'm just gonna dance now. Fuck this shit. Cause we don't have a chance now. The whole world is fucking gone to hell. Makes me wanna fucking scream and yell. Fuck this shit. I'm just gonna dance now. Fuck this shit. Cause we don't have a chance now.
Guys, all rock. Thank you for being here and hanging out and being a part of the show. We do love the hell out of you, and we can't do the damn thing without you. It's a value for value gig here. If you're new here, you're kind of, just getting into the thing. This is how the show works. Every time you see not only AM Wake Up, but every other show that airs on the channels, all of that content comes to you for free. Nothing is ever going to be put behind a paywall. There's no subscribe to this to get that. You don't have to learn a secret handshake. We get $0 from advertisers. We get $0 from paid sponsors. That's why you don't hear 10 or 12 minutes of ad reads and shit at the beginning of the show or throughout it, because it doesn't exist in this environment. Instead, if you guys see value in what we're doing, you like the conversations, you like the guests, you like the jokes, whatever it is. If you see value in that, send it this way, and that's how we get to do the thing. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can participate. There's a couple of things that we definitely need to see from you guys. Most importantly, time, talent, and treasure. Time and talent, because it's just me doing all of the things 7 days a week in order to make sure that you guys see this stuff and I participate and hit almost all of it. It's not going to break your wrist. I promise. On the talent end, if you make clips, please do that and get them out there. I don't care if 3 people are going to see it. If you tag us, we'll retweet it too, and then 3 more people are going to see it. The way that we're buried in the algorithm. But it helps. Every little bit helps. Exact same philosophy applies to the treasure part. Every little bit helps. If you're at all in a position to contribute to independent media, all of the direct donate links, including Bitcoin, are in the description. So if you have, 55 Bitcoin and you want to give the show 1, it's going to get dispersed to at least 5 other content creators that day.
Kind of a fucking ass clown wouldn't have the heart and compassion to donate to baby Steve.
Now, let's take a look at some highlights from AM Wake Up from this week. Make sure to support and share their show to keep this great channel going. Share the show. Share the show. Share the show.
Share the fucking show.
So we should do that. Here they are.
Gentlemen, this Declaration of Independence will send a clear message to the throne that we are a sovereign nation and finally free of their tyrannies.
Thomas, this is the most eloquent and beautiful piece of writing I have ever read. But I am going to cross out some of these obscenities, if you don't mind. Also, I don't think we need the accompanying pictures. You've really made it pretty clear.
Now, I don't need to remind you men of the seriousness of our actions here today. By signing this document, you will officially be casting your lot with the revolution and be considered a traitor to the crown. Know full well that by committing your name to this declaration, you may bring hardship and strife to your families and label yourselves outlaws forever. Now, who wants to be the first to sign it?
Well, Thomas, since you authored the thing, I think it's only fair that you sign first.
Very well. It will be an honor and a privilege.
Look, baby Abraham, our new nation is being born. It's a proud day.
There. The first signature.
Wait, you wrote John Hancock. You wrote my name.
Oops, my bad.
Stop it, you gonna get in so much trouble. Oh, and you wrote it huge. They're gonna think I'm the leader. Fine.
Well,
don't cross it out. Come on.
We only have one copy of that.
Fine. Then I'm gonna write your name.
Dude, don't be like that.
Thomas Jefferson.
Come on, man. I was the one that was up all night working on the thing.
Well, Thomas, it is fair. What work would be complete without the signature of its author?
Yeah, are you gonna sign it, fatty?
No, I got kids.
You know what, Benji? I think you are signing it. Whoop. Benjamin Franklin.
What?
Right there.
Don't be such a Thomas.
Okay. All right, let's calm down. This is a proud time in our nation's history. I think we should all be honored to be present.
John Adams going on the list.
Oh, you
Guys, you're upsetting baby Lincoln.
Okay, that's it. Tony Lincoln. Here we go. Tony Lincoln.
That's it. It's on.
Come get some. No, this is me.
And on that crisp fall morning all those years ago, our founding fathers forged the greatest country this continent would ever know. The United States of America.
Heck yeah. R.I.P. Trev. Dang. Good times. Let's see. So we've been reporting on the increasing retaliation to flock cameras. People are very upset about this. The gargantuan surveillance apparatus that, just hanging out in everybody's front yard. And not just front yard, but anywhere and everywhere you go. It's become such a problem that people have taken action, and many have been charged, arrested, facing significant jail time for taking out these flock cameras. Well, we went to my girl sister's house to watch the game, Hamza. But yeah, let's take a listen to this guy here for a moment.
Look around. We're standing in the middle of the Richland Wildlife Management Area.
Also, for the people who can't see the video, this absolute legend is wearing a hat that says Florida Cracker.
Miles and miles of Florida wilderness with no neighborhoods or shopping centers, subdivisions, or traffic lights around. Just woods, hunters, fishermen, families, people enjoying the outdoors the way that generations of Floridians always have. So here's my question. Why are there surveillance cameras here? Why are there license plate readers sitting at the crossroads of a wildlife management area? Who are they watching? The hunters? People exercising their Second Amendment rights? Families going camping? Fishermen headed to a boat ramp? Because it isn't just here. I recently drove to a remote boat ramp in the middle of the marsh. There wasn't a town nearby. There wasn't a shopping center, a neighborhood, just a boat ramp and surveillance cameras recording every vehicle coming and going. At what point did we decide that every trip into nature should be tracked? Every hunting and fishing trip, every drive through rural Florida. Some people will immediately say, those cameras help stop crime. They help stop human trafficking. And every one of us wants criminals caught. Every one of us wants trafficking victims rescued. But here's the question that no one seems willing to ask. How much surveillance are we willing to accept? For decades, law enforcement investigated crimes without building massive networks of cameras that record the movements of millions of law-abiding Americans. Technology can be a useful investigative tool, but it should never become a substitute for police work. It should never become a substitute for evidence. And it should never become a substitute for the constitutional liberties that Americans have always expected.
All right, so check this out. This is where these two flock cameras are that the guy in the video is talking about. Let me give you an idea of where these cameras are. This is the exact intersection of those two cameras, okay? Now let me just zoom out. Look how far away these cameras are from anything. This is just wildlife reserve. There is nothing in this area. Let me just keep zooming out. Here we have some highways. Here we have some highways. But again, there are no towns anywhere near this. So why are these flock cameras here? It doesn't make any sense at all why they would put these cameras here. And if we go and we look at the more information here, I have confirmed that these cameras are here. They are flocked. They were installed by the Hernando County Sheriff's Office. They've deployed about 40 cameras across the county, including on these rural country roads. But why did they do this? Well, they say that to recover stolen vehicles, track suspects, solving crimes in rural areas, and public safety. But that doesn't make any sense, because unless there's like maybe a murder and somebody drops a body there, other than that, you're not tracking anybody and you're not tracking any crimes. This is unlawful surveillance. This just makes no sense.
That's true. Well, it does, however, make sense if you're trying to turn the entire planet into a technocratic digital prison grid. Then it makes perfect sense. If you're trying to enslave the entirety of humanity on your little tax cattle farm, then it makes sense. Let's see. Let's go to what happened? All right, there we are. Let's go to the deflock.org map here. And I don't know, let's pick an area densely populated with cameras. Oh, you know what? Let's go a different direction. Let's zoom in on Colorado. Why was there roadway cameras? All right. All up along Durango, Pagosa Springs. And then over here, just randomly on the road, on Colorado 89, more flock cameras. Yeah. Gross. They've identified on the DFlock website currently over 111,000 camera locations. And these are just what have been, open source uploaded through OpenStreetMaps. That's where you go to upload the location of the flock camera near you. But let's see. Before I get into a couple of the articles and video about what's happening to people who are getting caught removing flock cameras, let's do a quick public service announcement from Beardy McBeardface. I don't know what this guy's name is.
So some people are saying that they're putting reflective lenses on flock cameras that are blocking light. Now, I don't know if that's true, but what you should absolutely never do is take a pellet gun and shoot out the lens on those cameras. That's property damage, and property damage is a bad misdemeanor. And as we all know, civil penalties are way worse than felonies. You definitely don't want to get a civil penalty. That would just be the end of your life. You'd probably have to pay some money, maybe even write a formal letter of apology. All they're trying to do is protect us. Obviously, those flock cameras have nothing but innocent intentions behind them. You know, and there's been some very bad men who have tried to warn us about this, like Edward Snowden. We all know Edward Snowden is a bad, bad, evil man who betrayed our country. And don't even get me started on that lunatic Benjamin Franklin. He said something so dangerous as, those who would give up essential liberty for a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. So let's all do our part to continue protecting flock cameras.
Zan. Yeah, no, the Waymos are just, it's a sick joke on everybody. It is. I played a video, if you just got here, Poetry Yoga, I played a video earlier of the Waymo, one of the Waymo traffic jams. And they're all just stacked up on top of each other. So dumb. But yeah, moving over to some of the backlash on this. I'll play the video first. Out of Arizona? New Mexico, my bad. New Mexico. Let's pull this up.
Odd case in Rio Rancho where license plate reader cameras were destroyed, then replaced with a flag. Police say the man behind the crime cost the city thousands in damages. News 13's Bianca Hoops has that video.
A series of vandalized cameras have Rio Rancho police questioning who did it.
So that's where our ALPRs were, the license plate reader. Someone stole the reader and replaced it with this flag. We had the same thing happen yesterday off of Metalwork. When did they do that? I have no idea.
In May, Rio Rancho police found at least 3 flock cameras, also known as license plate readers, destroyed. The solar panels attached to them were stolen, then a flag was hung on top of the camera poles.
Is there a reason why they're doing this? Do you guys have an idea? I think it's somebody who doesn't like license plate readers.
Within days of the investigation, police pull over a truck that matched the description of the car tied to the flock camera incidents. In the car, they find multiple flags that were similar to the ones in the vandalized cases. The driver, 44-year-old Jovan Martinez, was arrested for an unrelated warrant and has since then been released. Police say Martinez admitted to the vandalism when they asked about the flags, and he even took videos on his phone every time.
Oh, look at my work, gentlemen. So all these cameras popping around, the flock cameras, they are not ours.
Just that, you know, he doesn't look or sound like a Martinez, but all right.
Then, within a week, Rio Rancho police got a warrant to look out for some of the missing equipment at Martinez's home, even bringing in a SWAT team because of his criminal history, including assault.
Because I'm missing 3 solar panels and 1 flock camera.
Like I said, I threw them in the trash and put them on the side.
Because we tracked 1 here in this area.
Police say Martinez caused more than $20,000 worth of damages.
And the reason this happened, John Martin, is because of the history that you have before.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm so looking forward to this. You have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, SWAT and $20,000. Now, also in Virginia, this is happening. Let's go over here. This guy was an Air Force veteran who got himself in trouble for refusing the surveillance state.
Well, they're popping up all over Hampton Roads and the nation as a way to spot and deter crime. They're also the focus of lawsuits on privacy. Now, a man has been arrested for damaging close to a dozen flock cameras in the city of Suffolk. The crime spanning over several months this year. 10 on your side's Brett Hull has the chain of events new tonight.
Flock cameras are across Hampton Roads in different communities, including in North Suffolk. But according to court paperwork earlier this year, some of those cameras stopped working. 13 in total to be exact, all in the North Suffolk area. The cameras, which take pictures of vehicles, have been used by police to solve crimes across the region. While lawsuits have been filed alleging privacy violations, the courts have upheld their use for now. But it's in court where we found this criminal complaint where 41-year-old Jeffrey Sovern is accused of intentionally destroying the cameras over a more than 5-month period. According to detectives, Sovern admitted to the crime, using vice grips to disassemble the 2-piece mounting poles. When police searched his home in the Harborview area, they found 6 solar panels and other parts of the flock equipment. We went to see if we could ask Sovern why he did it. He didn't answer the door. However, someone else said the complaint doesn't tell the full story. While neither they or a spokesperson for the Suffolk Police Department agreed to go on camera, a spokesperson for Flock says Flock safety takes damage to our devices seriously, and we appreciate our local law enforcement partners investigating these incidents and holding individuals accountable.
But nobody that is setting up this completely unconstitutional, totally invasive, dystopian hellscape seems to want to take any accountability for that. In fact, if you ask them about it, it's all going to be down to humans using their stuff wrong, and not that it's an overly invasive, all-encompassing eye and ear on literally everything everybody does at all times. That's not the problem. Well, at least according to the clowns who have created the problem. Let's see. No, that's not the Flock clip. I know we played a little bit of this a couple of weeks ago, but it bears repeating, this particular woman's story. And it's well worth listening to the way the cop is talking too, because that's crazy. He says some crazy stuff here.
We have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
That's insane. We have cameras everywhere. You can't get a breath of fresh air in this town without us seeing. If that doesn't tell you that whatever people have been saying about a police state coming, if that doesn't tell you that it's here and we're living in it, I don't know what else is going to do it. And there isn't a single fucking politician on the planet that's willing to actually take a stance against this. They're all bought off. There's not a single member of the tech sector that is screaming their head off about this at any of the, conferences they go to or anything like that. This is crazy. I've got to play that again.
We have cameras everywhere in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out without us knowing.
That's insane. You can't get a breath of fresh air. Like he's doing Rocco in the Boondock Saints. I can't buy a pack of smokes. He's doing that. All right. Let's let it go.
Prasanna Elzer learned the power of Flock firsthand.
You were in town from 11:52 until 12:09 exactly. Like I said, nothing gets in or out of the town without us knowing.
The amount of smug coming off of this prick cop. Dude, give up your fucking badge. You're so sure of yourself and your spy equipment, and you're still wrong. You were in town. I'm right, because my robot. You're not. You're wrong. You're fucking wrong.
And a Colorado police officer showed up at her door holding Flock snapshots of her truck.
And here's when you left at 12:09. That's when you left town.
To get?
No, to stop at Ridge Trail
Wait a minute.
and take a package.
No, that's not what you were doing. I know what you were doing because my camera. What a little child, man. And this guy's a Colorado cop. And that's exactly, if this is how he treats a white lady at her house, how you think he's treating other people out there on the road?
So there's no shushing. I don't
Yes,
need to
there
be.
is. I need to know where this is.
The first thing he pulled out on the body cam is that flock picture, the clear photograph of your car.
But here's your vehicle in the neighborhood many, many times, apparently casing houses, because you just can't drive through for work or visit other businesses. You can only be casing houses.
It is her. It is 100%. It is locked in. There is zero doubt. I wouldn't.
Zero doubt, 100% locked in. The robot said, the camera said, you're guilty. I'm here to arrest you. I'm here to charge you. There's no such thing as a presumption of innocence. Not that there really was much of one to begin with, but now it's all fucking gone.
Wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure.
I wouldn't have come here unless I was 100% sure. Well, what you're 100% sure of is your robot. Not any sort of actual police work. You're not knocking on her door saying, hey, I'm officer so-and-so with the blah, blah, blah police department. We're following up because in the course of our investigation, your vehicle shows up on these cameras, and we're here to ask you some questions about that. Now, that would be routine policing. Not that I'm a fan of that either, but that's what that would look like. It would not look like Officer freaking douchebag going, my robot said I'm right, 100%. It's locked in. Not that they were brilliant to begin with, but cops that have completely outsourced all of their critical thinking and are just meat sacks to take you out of your home and deny you your property, your resources, and your liberty. Oh, that's bad. That's bad.
100%. It is certain. It is on video. You're obviously welcome to go to court.
Chrisana was.
You're obviously welcome to go to court, but you're guilty. I know you're guilty. I know you're guilty because I saw the video.
Charged with stealing a package, but it wasn't her. The porch pirate was somebody else. Multiple times you tried to show him your video evidence. He didn't want to see it.
No, even when I called him back, he said, that's not my job.
You looked at a time of a crime. You saw my vehicle entering in the flock.
No, what I did was I did an investigation.
You called my wife a liar. You saying this is...
You didn't do an investigation, dummy. You went, oh, the robot said. The robot said, then I have to do what the robot said. Because the robot.
I have video evidence. I don't know what you want me to say.
The charges were dropped after Chrisana spent weeks trying to get the police chief to look at her evidence. Time-stamped video from her truck and a neighbor's doorbell camera showing she wasn't at the scene of the crime. What does it say about where we are that you feel you have to have more cameras than the police have in order to make sure you can prove yourself innocent?
Well, Bill, it sucks and it's crazy and I don't want to do this anymore. That's nuts. Hold that thought, Pavlos. Hold that thought. Porch monkey, porch pirate, what's the difference? Hold that thought, because we will go back to clerks. We will.
It sounds like it flipped the script to you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Without a flock camera, that detective would not have been at her door. By his own admission, he pulled out the flock picture of her car. Do you want to apologize to Chrisana Elzer for what happened to her?
For the police misusing the tools?
Most punchable face in society right now belongs to Josh Thomas, Chief Communications Officer. for flock safety.
I don't think that I have to
He wasn't
apologize
charged
for
with a
him.
crime. He wasn't. I mean, other than being reprimanded for his attitude.
Sure. No, but I would tell you that, like, should I apologize for somebody misusing a tool? I don't think so.
Flock Safety Chief Communications Officer Josh Thomas.
He's the best at communicating in flock, and he's the most punchable douchebag I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've watched a lot of clips of Ted Cruz.
Who's watching the watchers in these cases?
Well, the city council. The city owns the data, so city council would have the appropriate responsibility in that case. Our point of view has always been that it is not Flock's job to police the way police do their work.
Yeah, no, you guys can go on doing as much rampant abuse through our products as you want. It's not our job to tell you who to stalk and who to wrongfully arrest. Not our job. We're just there to spy on everything all the time. Ugh. Ugh. Let's see. So, Pav, since you called the tune.
I don't mind people snickering at the stupid uniform I've got to wear, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let some self-righteous lucky turd come in here and treat me and Dante like we're a couple of fucking porch monkeys.
Randall! I'm sorry. He
didn't really just say what I think he said.
What? Porch monkeys?
Randall!
What the fuck is wrong with you? I want my money back right now.
Of course. You know what? Here, take this on us.
No. I'm not eating something that was cooked by some cracker-ass hate monger.
I will. Baby, you can't taste racism.
What? You can't taste racism. Actually, you can. We at the Hard R Barbecue Sauce Company believe you can, in fact, taste racism, and that bigotry makes every bite better. That's why at Hard R Barbecue Sauce, we have refined the distinctive racist flavors from many different cultures and produced a barbecue sauce that is, in fact, superior. Hard R Barbecue Sauce. Find us at truck stops everywhere.
Racism, porch monkeys?
Little mother.
Calm down, chap. It ain't worth it.
You lucky my husband done jump across this counter and knock your teeth in.
Why?
Yeah, baby, why? I mean, ain't like he called us porch monkeys. Hey. Come on, baby, stop hitting on me. See, the judge told you about that. You got to stop putting your hands
Here,
on people.
take this. This is your money. Please, take the food on us. We're sorry.
Oh, I'm going to write the paper about this, and all y'all getting fired up in here.
I'm going to take the food. Thank you very much. Dang it!
Thanks. Come again.
Don't leave me, baby.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
What? What's the big deal? Since when is it a crime to say porch monkey?
Oh, I don't know. Since forever?
Why?
Because porch monkey's a racial slur against black people.
No, it's not. Nigger is.
Randall!
Did Randall just call Mr. Dante a nigger?
Shut up, Elias.
I didn't just call Dante a nigger. I just said that nigger is a racial slur.
So is porch monkey.
Oh, it is not. Coon, spook, spade, mooly, jigaboo, nignog, those are racial slurs. Porch monkey is not.
I'm going to pretend like this conversation didn't happen. Elias, go pick up that fucking mess, and you are this close to getting shit canned. Shoot me now.
What are you doing? Are you trying to get fired?
Since when did porch monkey suddenly become a racial slur?
When ignorant racists started saying it 100 years ago.
Oh, bullshit. My grandmother used to call me a porch monkey all the time when I was a kid because I'd sit on the porch and stare at my neighbors.
Just the fact that your grandmother might have used it as a term of endearment for you, it's still a racial slur. It'd be like your grandmother calling you a little kike.
Oh, it is not. Plus, my grandmother had nothing but the utmost respect for the Jewish community. When I was a kid, she told me to always treat the Jewish kids well or they'd put the Sheeny curse on me.
What the fuck, man?
What?
Sheeny's a racial slur, too.
Oh, it is not.
Yes, it is.
Well, she never called any Jews Sheeny. She just used to say Sheeny curse a lot. It was cute.
It wasn't cute. It was racist.
I disagree, man. She was just an old-timer. That's the way people talked back then. Didn't mean they were racist. But my grandmother did refer to a broken beer bottle once as a nigger knife. You know, come to think of it, my grandmother was kind of a racist.
You think?
Well, I still don't think porch monkey should be considered a racial term. I mean, I've always used it to describe lazy people, not lazy black people. I think if we really tried, we could reclaim porch monkey and save it.
It can't be saved, Randall. The sole purpose for its creation, the only reason it exists in the first place, is to disparage an entire race. And even if it could be saved, you can't save it because you're not black.
Well, listen to you. Telling me I can't do something because of the color of my skin? You're the racist. I'm taking it back. You watch. Hey, what can I get for you, porch monkey? It's cool. I'm taking it back.
Taking it back. Taking it back. You can't taste racism. But you can, Earthquake. You can. No, I don't think that's the actual Waffle House training video. HR work orientation. Yeah, there is that. It does kind of backfire sometimes when you have people assist you with your workplace harassment training seminars. Let's see. This is a courtesy of Shane Gillis.
All right, dickheads, listen up. I know this sucks. We're all dumbasses, but if we just fucking lock in and plow through this, we can get it over with, all right? Carmen, next slide, please. Okay, sexual harassment. Ooh, look at that. God damn, look at the ripples on that ass. That's assault for sure.
Some girls like that. I mean, you can't just go smacking any girl's ass like that.
Exactly. You can't just go around smacking asses, even if they're perfectly sculpted cartoon asses like this.
Okay, well, it's important to note that sexual harassment can be nonverbal. Can anyone give me an example of nonverbal sexual harassment?
Kind of walked right into that one, huh?
Yeah.
Well, look, we can all agree those are hilarious.
No.
All right, next slide. We can cover that later. Next.
Great pace, Shane. Let's keep it moving. All excellent.
Ableism, whatever the fuck. Oh, wheelchair people. That's a potato chip in a wheelchair. I don't think potato chips and wheelchairs are funny at all anymore. There's nothing funny about a person in a wheelchair. Obviously, it depends on how they got there, but for the most part, wheelchair people are not funny. I've seen hot chicks in wheelchairs. You ever see one of them flying down the street, little Hot Wheels coming right at you? You don't laugh at them, do you? You go, God damn, I wish I had her instead of my disgusting pig standing wife. You kidding me? Wheelchair wife? That's a dream wife. She starts yapping a little. You go, actually, you know what? I am going to watch the end of this baseball game. Let's get you back to the guest room. I'm going to put you on ice for about 10 minutes. Let you think about this. You fall asleep around the 7th inning. You go, oh, fuck, I forgot her back there.
But you bring that up, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Something's happened on my computer all at once. That's weird. Sorry, keep going.
What's the okay? Let's see.
What the fuck?
So okay, we've been oh, down goes Ryan. Well, that well, it looked to me like Flo Balogun was serving out the 1-game suspension while he was on the pitch. I don't know if anybody looked at any of the stats, but he every time he got the ball, he was dispossessed like immediately. 0 passes, 0 attempts. 0 steps with the ball. Just would receive the ball and then immediately get dispossessed or pass it away to Belgium. Had a perfect breakaway opportunity on goal screwed it up. So it looked like it looked like regardless of whether or not he sat out for the game, he totally sat out for the game.
Sorry, refresh.
Somebody said that they were very happy that the U.S. lost. And I think, legitimately, a bunch of people were upset because of the intervention over the red card and the one game thing. And I was just pointing out that if you looked at Flo Balogun's stats last night, he served his 1 game suspension out on the pitch because he received the ball exactly 8 times and was dispossessed of it immediately 8 times. Took 0 steps with the ball, 0 attempts on, had a gift given to him in terms of an opportunity and just shanked it immediately. No shots on goal. So I mean, regardless of whether or not he sat out, he sat out.
So what are you implying?
Well, I'm implying that appears to be intentional.
Oh, so maybe as a U.S. player, he acted differently because of Trump?
He played different because he was supposed to be suspended for a game. Everybody knew that. Everybody knows Trump and Giovanni Infantino are, little buddies. Howard Lutnick was sitting right next to the president of FIFA at one of the matches. It is a corrupt criminal organization. It's an international law. The theory is, and I'm not saying whether or not I believe it. It looks plausible given the performance, but the theory is that Balogun actually has some integrity, regardless of whether or not he believed he should have been sat for the game. That's what the deal was. It took some shady, what a personal phone call from the president.
Yeah, weird.
Which, and look, it's not without there've been red card suspensions, like a game suspension reversed before a handful of times.
Yeah. But not at the behest of a power of the government behind a team. That if it was exactly the same situation in reverse, what he would say.
Right. No, let's say pick an enemy.
Right.
Did it, for whatever reason, China hosts the World Cup,
Right.
President Xi Jinping, because he really does look like Winnie the Pooh. He really does. There's no getting around that. It's just, it's a thing. But yeah, he makes a personal phone call to the president of FIFA and says, hey, let my people go. Trump would go ballistic. He absolutely would.
Especially if it was something that was, basically, in a match. So it was them versus the United States, and that ruling gained for China against the United States. This guy is such a perfect analogy for what we call team sport politics. That's exactly what we're always talking about. This is so in sports. It's like football is what I'm more accustomed to, but so there's whatever. Was his knee down? Did he get into the end zone? Did they win the fucking Super Bowl? It's like, well, that people will fight for the ruling to go in their favor, especially if it's undecided. Even if they kind of sense that their knee was down, they want to win. And so people, we won, even though, that's what you get. And so people are going to want to fight for what they want. And it's, so people who may side with the reality of it, or maybe recognize the reality of it, are now kind of quietly cheering for the fact that they got what they shouldn't have gotten. That's what they do in politics, is the point. Every day. It's not about really what you get or what's really happening. It's about fighting for the team. And I don't think people are okay with that. This would be a good moment to reflect, to really, I don't know how we can see it, but to see whether or not the majority of, let's just say, U.S. soccer football fans feel about that. Even if they got what they wanted, how many supporters of the team were angry that Trump did that, even though they gained from it. I'd like to feel like it. I get the sense that it might be more than we realize, if not the majority.
Yeah, yeah.
wrong,
It's funny because the people who were bandwagoning on board with the decision were like, people who never pay attention to the game, anything like that. Um, World Cup happens, they get, halfway involved. Um, Russell Wilson, the third, NFL player, is one of these people. Dave freaking Portnoy is another, and he
I think
just
that's
has
serial grifters getting involved in these. It's people, in my opinion, recognized how to manipulate the algorithmic sort of dynamic of these platforms to get things to go. I think it's all manipulative today. The way that these systems run,
for sure. Yeah, I had George Galloway retweet something I said about Argentina's team.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I thought I was blocked by George Galloway. I don't know when he unblocked me, but he apparently did.
Well, glad he's realizing why that would be silly. Like I was just talking about somebody, and I don't even want to bring it up because I'd like to believe that the person sees that they were ridiculous in saying this to me, but somebody that during COVID-19 was somebody I appreciated the work. And the conversation, way early, like even before Trump's administration, and not even like we were even remotely in the earlier stage of calling this out, plenty of people way before us, but the Israel influence in this country, and simply, I think I just used the term occupied government from Zionist occupied government. And the guy was like, you're fucking Nazi white supremacist. And I was like, at first I'm like, did you get hacked? Like, are you joking? Like, look, you can feel like that term can be used but demonstrate for me what I've ever done or said that I'm like screaming for some kind of a Nazi supremacist. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, it's just threw me, and just was like absolute blocked me, hated me. And I was like, wow. And then my point was like, look, like you can disagree with the point, but is it like, look, especially right now, I think it's pretty clear that the majority of people are starting to recognize that influence, if not occupation, is a very valid consideration. And so you just wonder whether they've come around, like whatever it was that made him angry, Stingy doesn't get, well, now maybe they've come around to go, well, maybe he was right, and unblocking you is a good sign. Too bad it wouldn't be like, hey, turns out you were right. I wanted to let you know that, too bad. But I haven't even checked to see if I'm unblocked by that person, but.
Right. Or at the least, George, you could be like, hey, Garland, thanks for guest hosting my show. Why don't you bring your co-host from Wednesday on and he could talk some shit with you? That would be nice, George. Just saying.
It also could be an accident or Twitter did it. So who knows?
Oh, fun times.
Yeah.
I don't know. Back to the team sports politics point. Have you noticed that when we called this exact thing, I think last year, maybe even a year and a half ago, the third party forming around Tucker Carlson, Thomas Massey, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is here. It's arrived.
Well, I let's not. I mean, I'm with you, but I like when it happens. Then because for all we know, this is just another effort to get people to rally behind something that then folds back into the party at the last minute, just like they did with take your pick. Fucking, it's happened many times before, But I do sense it too, and I do think that that's likely. But I was jumping at this like post 2016, or like his first administration, thinking like, okay, it's inevitable. They're going to drop this fake third party now. It has to make sense right now. Didn't happen. It's like, so it's hard to say. I think that it's also the consideration is also that Americans are not, I think people are skeptical out of the gate. So maybe it's not going to happen in general because it's like he floated out and people are like, fuck that. That's stupid. Who knows? But Tucker's a good choice if it is all dishonest because people will want to believe in that, and Massey too. It's hard. But same time, we should at least consider that it is what we want it to be. If we can envision what we would hope it would be, we should hope that that's what it will ultimately become. I doubt it, but we'll see. Because if like ultimately, if they start saying every single thing we've ever said, they stand by it and they call them out, it's like, and I doubt it, but wouldn't that be nice?
The Carlson Independent America Party.
independent. Yeah.
CIA party.
Well, yeah. Oh, right. I didn't even catch that.
CIA party.
Yeah. What somebody pointed out too, though, is that, and this is just a logical point. Okay, so it's a finite thing we're dealing with. As much as there's tons of money and billionaires, it's not infinite, right? So ultimately, there's a pool of the money large enough to influence this game, right? The broken game, the dishonest broken game that we know it is. So by participating in that game, you're still going to end up getting your broken result. But we'll pretend like that won't happen. But so the point would be that he's either going to lean into that money or not. And so arguably you won't win, as 99% of elections win if the person who spends the most money, or whatever that statistic is somewhat still accurate today. Or, so either you're going to lean into like the independent side of it and not get enough money to affect the broken game, or he'll lean into that money with the idea that somehow that will fight from within. And it's just like, well, show me when that's ever worked, So even if it's honest, it's like, this is the frustration for those of us that have paid attention long enough, that why are we, it's the whole only way to win a dishonest game is not to play, or whatever the saying is. But the problem is that you're not going to get a certain amount of Americans to go along with anything that's not within that system. So it's like this is the point of it being designed to not be able to change. We all seem to want it to change. We just have this weird construct where we're not allowed to look out certain parameters, and that's they have all the levers where they maintain the thing and it just continues to go forward. I think people see it though.
I know people see it. I hear people from different sectors saying it more and more frequently now too. And this is all stuff that like you and I and Derek, a number of people have been advocating for a very long time. People a lot longer for that matter.
Yep.
But I have a clip of friend of the show, Aaron Day, talking about this exact thing. Here it is. Bring this guy up. And I mean, if you guys have been listening to either me or Ryan, you've heard us say this the entire time that you've known us. And it's good that like this is kind of a broad strokes a general overview of the situation. Especially coming from, somebody who's been so involved in the crypto sector, the cryptocurrency sector, who has been pointing out for a very long time the obvious Epstein connections to Bitcoin and other crypto market manipulation.
What belief do you hold that even other libertarians get mad at you for? We can't vote our way out. I think this is a conclusion that I've come to after a long time of political activism, being part of the Free State Project, that we need to actually start focusing on building parallel systems, not thinking that we're going to work through the political system. And I say that, and it sounds ironic because I'm running for U.S. Senate and so on and so forth, but at the same time, we need to build parallel systems, but we can strategically use the political process to slow the growth of technocracy and to, buy some time for people to exit the system. But I think that the fact that voting is not a solution is probably something that most people are still not ready for yet. So a lot of people are going to hear it's either voting or revolution. You're saying there is a third option, which is to build parallel systems. And
yeah, I think that you don't have to fight, you can build. It seems like we're in this situation right now where it's people either worried about technocracy and worried about government, and they all want to go back to this little house on the prairie existence where it's like all of a sudden everybody's sewing your own clothes and making your own food. There's a third option here. We can actually have a better future. It doesn't have to be worse. It doesn't have to be we're moving into a state of survival or we're regressing 150 years based on technology. There's an ability to build new parallel systems that are much better than what we have right now. This is why I like privacy coins, privacy tokens. There are a whole bunch of things. We've actually created a medical tourism marketplace. This is one example. People are concerned about healthcare. The United States has the highest healthcare costs in the world, 38th in quality. Every minute in this country, someone files for medical bankruptcy. 75% of those have insurance. So insurance doesn't protect you from catastrophic loss. Well, it turns out if you form a medical trust to protect your assets, cancel your insurance, you can use medical tourism and save 80% and get better health outcomes. When people think about medical tourism, either plastic surgery or shoddy doctors that couldn't make it through medical school.
Turkish hair plugs, yeah.
Yes, it couldn't be further from the truth. We're talking about complex heart bypass surgery, cancer treatments. We're talking about things you can't even get in the United States because of the FDA. Thailand has become the largest medical tourism destination, and I encourage people to actually check out the videos. We have like a commonality here. If you go to a hospital or a school, they look like a prison in the United States. They all have that kind of same institutional sterile vibe. These medical tourism facilities, and it's like you're going to a spa. And yet, even with the travel costs and with everything else, it's 70 to 80% less expensive with better health outcomes. I think there's an optimistic future here. Alternatives that people have today that they're not aware of. Well, I'm paying for this insurance, I must use it. Or the only doctors or the methodologies that I have available to me, or whatever my health insurance happens to say, which is tied to my employment. There are better options. People just need to change their frame and realize that there's actually kind of an infinite number of choices out there in the world. The more people that change that mindset, the better off we can be and the more productive parallel systems we can build.
All right. You know, I mean, I'd like to believe people are becoming more considerate of that direction just because of how like the hamster wheel feel of where we are right now, but I could be wrong.
If I ever leave this world alive, well, thank you for the things you did in my life. If I ever leave this world alive, I'll come back down and sit beside your feet tonight. Wherever I am, you'll